It is March. March, the month always known for a little bit of madness. And here today, the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series returns for 2018. And madness is going to be the phrase of the day at Interlagos. Round number one of the championship, defending champion Martin Kroenke. He won every single round last season, looking to make a bit of history. Tyres is going to be a huge factor here today. But before we go to the race, we've got to do qualifying. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round number one of the 2018 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on Facebook Live, Twitch TV, and on YouTube Gaming as well. We'll then turn along with Jake Sperry, Jonathan Simon. We've got Connery Maddock doing our stuff here on social media. Qualifying is already underway, and that is where we are going to take you to the action right away. And as it stands right now, it is Martin Kroenke on pole position provisionally, 1:10.071. But Jake, Joshua Rogers, we saw how fantastic he's been before. Was in second place, now down to third place in qualifying right now. But Rogers is really going to be one of these drivers we're going to be looking out for all season long. Yeah, we are looking at Team Redline right now. We're going to step aside just one moment, ladies and gentlemen. We realise we've got a couple of audio issues. Back in just 10 seconds' time. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies about that. We are back. We are on board with Gregor Hutu right now as he works himself down towards the final corner to do a qualifying lap. He's not set one so far. Past the start-finish line he comes, and well, Johnny, up into P number 2.
It looked like a clean lap, and I loved it from Gregor, but not enough to bit Martin Kroenke away from that provisional pole time. So let's see if Gregor can actually improve on that second lap. Now, don't forget, Martin always leaves that second lap. That's his tendency to later on in the session. He likes that rhythm. He feels good as a driver when he does that. And by the way, it's good to be back for another season.
Oh yeah, it is indeed. We're looking on board right now of Freek Shorehort in the Team Redline number 21 car, currently running in P number 9 in terms of qualifying. Mitchell de Jong has moved himself up into second place on the timing loop. So it's now Kroenke from de Jong, from Hutu, Backham, Jensen are your top 5. And we know that Mitchell de Jong can always be fast in his second lap as well. De Jong is on track. Sebastian Job up into second place, Jake.
And that's what Sebastian Job wanted to prove. He has been for far too long the nearly man, the man who hasn't been living up to his potential. And finally, we're seeing qualifying how close he can get. How close, you ask? 24 thousandths of a second close. That's the sort of margin that we are looking for. We also need to look at someone like Isaac Price, for example. FA Racing G2, he backs out of his lap. He will have one final chance to make a lap happen. And also there's this number 12 driver in a brand new team wheel. Marcus Jensen left Apex just the other day, and he's now with Burst Esports.
Yeah, indeed. So we're looking at Koana Sim Sports, Mitchell de Jong right now. He's just getting himself a slow outlap, and this is one of the things here, Jake, is really interesting to talk about. Tyres is going to be a huge factor this year. So these outlaps, they're getting slower and slower because the drivers are doing everything they can to preserve the tyres on their outlaps as Jensen goes P6 and Peter Berryman right now up into P number 6.
Yes, and you're starting to see these really slow laps. You don't want to take anything out of the tyres for a very long time. Drivers have complained, oh, the strategy is too predictable, it's too boring. We're tired of having one-stop races at full distance. So what's happened? They decide to up the tyre wear here in the racing, and this is what's going to throw a spanner in the works, because it could mean a 2-stop race. It could very easily mean a 3-stop race here today. We've never seen tyres that go off as quickly as these ones have, as Mitchell de Jong rounds the junction, Yunsao, and now looks to set up the run up through the Desquitadas boxes, heading towards the Arquibancadas, and then looking to start his final flying lap.
Yep, so we're going to go on board of him, Johnny. So let's talk us through then as we go through into the center S. What does De Jong need to be focusing on as he starts this lap?
Well, trail braking into this first corner is very, very important. Pick up the car on the exit here, using all of the curb as much as possible. Straight lining this turn 3 if you can. Full throttle, DRS engaged as well. Now here's the next corner as well, heading into turn 4, the Interlagos. Again, you throw the car into the entry because you're able to do that. There's a lot of off camber there as well. Up the hill into Berradura. Right-hander sweeping, don't run too wide. You want to hit that second apex and use all the curb on the outside, all the curb on the inside. It's very important as a sim racer at this circuit, the quickest ones in the world, putting all 4 wheels onto the curb, as you see Mitchell de Jong do there. Through turn 11, Pico de Pato. And then here's where it's so easy to lose the rear end again, just as you're steering left, off traction, so easy to lock up into Yunsao. Traction critical through this corner because there's such a long straight here all the way to turn number 1 once again. And what you saw from Mitchell is he's about to cross the line, flicks on DRS. Can he snatch pole position from Kroenke? Not enough.
No, not at all. He remained in 3rd place. Kroenke is out on track right now, Jake. And, well, he's got a 24 1,000ths of a second advantage over Sebastian Job. Job has a 22 thousandths of a second advantage over Mitchell de Jong. So it is the Commander show in terms of 2 of the drivers inside your top 3. Not all the way through, however. Gregor Hutu in 4th place. And the thing for Kroenke is, this is normally when we say, why does he even need to do this final lap? But we know why he wanted it, because, well, this is Kroenke.
It is Kroenke, and he's not safe because Gregor Hutu is on his final flying lap as things stand. He's only a 1/10 of a second behind, and as Hutu heads himself through the Curva de Sol, looking for turns 4 and 5, the Desquitadas, Gregor Hutu will be wanting to apply that pressure onto Martin Kroenke, prove that he's still got it in him. The 5-time champion here in iRacing circles. Gregor Hutu wants to prove that. Martin Kroenke also wants to send a death knell message. I can break into the 109s. I have that ability to break into the 109s. None of you will have that potential to do that. Hutu now heading through the tight middle section of the lap, and it's looked pretty solid so far.
Solid, but not necessarily fast, I think, is the situation for Hutu right now. Team Red Line number 66 machine working himself down towards Yunsao right now. And, well, just kicking over. Worth noting that is exactly what Martin Kroenke did last year. He was the driver that would always be a decimal point below anyone else. 1:10.071, the time to be. Hutu, currently P number 5, past start finish line, not enough. Up into P number 4, but not enough, displacing Olli Pakala down into P number 5 for the time being. Here is Martin Kroenke. Are we going to see a repeat of the Martin Kroenke show from 2017? Works himself then through to the final corner. We go on board of him. What can he do? 1:10.044, doesn't break into the 109s, but he does extend his advantage, Johnny.
Great lap from Kroenke. That's his signature. He gets it done on the second lap, and he didn't even need to. That first lap time that he set earlier on in the session would have been enough for pole position. Let's see if anybody else is out there on the racetrack. Nobody. That's it. Quali's done. And I think what we saw there was 2 different perspectives from drivers. We saw a slow out lap from Mitchell de Jong. May have cooled the tires, but he may have saved some life. Had a slow lap time. But Hutu, quick out lap, quick lap time, and he did improve. So that's something drivers will be experimenting more of later on in the season.
Yeah, and the weather conditions here, let's talk about that real quick before we're going to have a look at our qualification results there, Jake, because it's 28 degrees in terms of the air temperature, and it's humid here at Brazil. 61 degrees race relative humidity. Not a lot of wind speed, but that humidity and that track temperature, that did make this a very interesting session for these drivers, and similar weather conditions in the race might make this free stop territory easily.
It certainly could. I think that with the temperature that we're looking at the bridge between a 2-stop and a 3-stop here today. If the temperatures stay exactly like this, the track may heat up a bit, it may cool down a bit. It'll be down to what the weather does when we head to the race. But It's about how you manage the new conditions. Every season has had a little something that's been different. And I will say for Team Redline as well, what a great lap time Ollie Pakala had.
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to have a look at your qualifying results here from Interlagos. So it will be the driver of Martin Cronke who will start on pole position for the first round of the championship. Sebastian Job will be alongside him on that front row of the grid. Third place, Mitchell de Jong. Fourth place, Gregor Hutu. Fifth place, well, that one goes to the driver of Ollie Pakala. Then you've got yourself, Marcus Jensen, P number 6. Kevin Ellis Jr. in 7th. Peter Berriman in 8th. Mac Backham 9th. And then Yao Vaz rounds out your top 10, turning the page over to P number 11 through 20. There it is on your screen. Rogers had a good start to the qualifying session, but settles down into P number 11. Kazuki Umeshima in 12th. Frank Shawhorse then, not a good qualifying for the number 21 Team Redline driver. Fluke in 14th. Marty Piatella, again, disappointing for him in Commander Simsport. So that's down in 15th place. Then you got Lona, Dinkle, Gergis, Williams, and Oscar running out your top 20. They are the remainder of your qualifying results. We will step aside for a brief moment here on RaceSpot TV, on iRacing Live. We will be back in just a moment's time. Once again, photo finish here of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerick at the line. In development, I'd say it's here. You can race LMP1 now on iRacing. You've got the choice, Audi or Porsche. And I tell you what, I know so many people have had so much fun taking on LMP1 at Le Mans. Of course, one of our special events on iRacing this year will be the 24 Heures de Le Mans, and you can catch that right here on Racespot TV and on iRacing Live. In the meanwhile, we welcome you back then to continued coverage of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And well, the thing is, Jake, it's a kind of familiar story on top. It is the Martin Kroenke Show version 2.0. But behind, it does get very interesting very quickly. FA Racing G2 Logitech G, of course, with Sebastian Job in second place. And well, they made a bit of a statement in terms of the what is now the VRS GT World Championship Series. But second place there, second place here, good start for that team.
It has been a very good start for FA Racing G2, and they understand that when they signed the drivers that they did, they wanted one goal and one goal only, and that is to build on trying to make a winning team. And I definitely think that they have that potential to try and make things happen. I think that when you're looking at what sim racers have been looking to try and build in terms of a team, you don't look too much further than what is going on with, say, what's happening right now. So I think that what you look at for FA Racing G2 is how do they build on that consistency. Qualifying is only one parameter of measurement, Will. There's going to be a little bit more that needs to be done from them in order to push on forward.
Yeah, indeed. And well, the thing that we're going to talk about all race long, Johnny, is that guy in the number 5 machine of Martin Kroenke. And the fact that he has now got the opportunity to really make a little piece of history. And we've been thinking about this all over the course of the winter as to whether Martin Kroenke would, A, come back for 2018, because he's quite a lot of work he's doing right now, formerly student in Germany at his university, which is going to take up a huge amount of his time. There were the rumours that he might not even come back to defend his title. He is back, and now he's going for glory.
I think what's also motivated him is this new tire.
You've started the motivation word already.
I'm very
We're
sorry
in trouble.
We're going to get some very angry messages, but we'll deal with that after the race. Kroenke, as you said, he's got a busy schedule on his hands. This is a great test of character for him this season. I think that's the biggest reason why he's probably racing. Is like, you know what? This is still fun. He wants to go for that win streak. I think it will be broken this year for sure. I think this whole... the factor that we're not having 1 stops anymore, we're in 3 or 4 stops, and these first few rounds are always unpredictable. That could throw him off. But in terms of matching Gregor Hutu's historic 14-race win streak, which Gregor had to begin the inaugural season of this World Championship, I think he could do it today. We'll see how long, though, it will last after 14.
Can I interject here in this situation? Because firstly, Johnny, he's looking to beat the record of 30, not equal the record of 14. And secondly, I find it more interesting that Martin Kroenke isn't saying, I want to break the record. I find it more interesting, Will, that he's saying, I want to go an entire season without picking up an incident point.
Yes, and I mean, this is one of the things as well about Commander Simsport. They have always been historic about this. Let's think back to when the 24-hour races came on iRacing. That first race that we did on Racespot TV, Jay, Commander Simsport, that's the thing that they love. They don't just love winning races, they love doing clean races. And I think Martin Kroenke did some like a 6-hour stint at Spa in what was an LMP2 car. Not a single link point at all. And this is, I think, the challenge now for Martin Kroenke. I like the way that he's compartmentalizing his successes, but trying to push it in such a way like, well, what do you do after you win an entire season? Well, okay, let's go for being the cleanest driver on track.
Yes, and I think that Martin Kroenke over the last 2 seasons has done that, as I will apologise to Jonathan Simone. It seems that my information is incorrect. But I think that when you look at what Martin Kroenke's done over the last 2 seasons, he's averaged, in his races, I think he's averaged 1 instant point over the last 2 seasons, going underneath an instant point a race in 2016 and just above that in 2017. It's a great challenge to have, Will, to keep on going forward. But as we all know, if one driver decides to send one down the inside on Martin Kroenke, and when all of the drivers in the field have not had a win since October 2016, I think an instant point could very easily go away.
Yes, indeed so. And actually, one of the things I really want to think about today, Johnny, is the fact that we're talking about tyres and tyre life and tyre issues. Now, one of the things that we haven't seen a lot over the course of the last couple of years is drivers having what I like to call self-inflicted crashes. We've seen drivers, slow down. We've had all this sort of stuff. But I'm thinking that we're in a situation in 2018. I expect to see someone spin out at the centre S here today.
Yeah, we've seen that in the past few years. Most famously, remember when Gregor Hutu a couple of years ago took out his whole team, which was funny. I think he can get away with that, though, because he's got 5 world titles to his name. But we could see a whole lot of calamity like that. In terms of pit windows, though, which is very important to discuss today. Now, depending on track temperature, of course, if it's around the 40-degree range, we had 34-degree track temp for qualifying. If it's around 40-degree range for the race, we're seeing definitely 3 or 4 stops, and it's going to be that intense this season. Drivers are finding that the tires drop off even as early as lap 10 coming into a stint, and they just lose the feeling out of them. So they obviously don't want to pit on lap 10 because that means they have to travel 6 times through the pit lane, basically. But 3 or 4 stops, if it does cool down and the track temp is as cold as even 18 to 20 degrees come race time, 2 stops could be an option for some of these teams at the moment, but we're definitely not going to know. And what's interesting is if it's a 3 or 4 stop race, those first few pit stops, we're not going to know who's on which strategy because those pit windows are so close together that when it comes to that second stop, that's when we're going to see drivers branching off into different strategies, and that could make the race really interesting.
Is anyone called up Max Delorco? I mean, we're Max Delorco strategies all of a sudden again.
6,000 stop.
Yeah.
That's his name, I think.
Yeah. And of course, Max Delorco over the years used to be the driver that used to do the crazy strategies. And, well, this is going to be the thing. It's like, so many people often said, commentators, we don't know what we're talking about. I mean, at the start of the year, especially when people talk about 2 3-stop races, when you come to Interlagos, a lot of people are saying a lot of things. And they're always trying to undercut each other or outthink each other. We get the information from the teams. 2 stops is a minimum here today, Jake. We've got to say that. 2 stops is a minimum. If we are not going to end up in the same 1-stop strategy race that we've had for the last 2 years, so much has changed. And because of that, that's why I want to talk about one thing. Is it a disadvantage to Martin Kroenke leading this race from the front? Because he's not going to be able to see anything going on behind him. The other guys can be can be proactive. He's going to have to react to anything that Job does, anything that some Team Redline does, anything that Apex Racing does.
Well, basically, Martin Kroenke is going to be out there like a lemon at this stage, and there's no other way of describing it. He's the man at the front who everybody wants to beat. Nobody is going to be his friend, and I doubt that anyone even in his team is going to want to be his friend in terms of if they have a shot of victory. So I think that when you look at Martin Kroenke and what strategy call that he will have to make, he's got to hope it's perfect, otherwise he could be in trouble. We saw how in 2016, when we brought a brand new car in, how Coanda struggled and how they dealt with. We've never seen changes, Will, so close to the start of the season, leaving everything so open. And it's not just changes to the tyres, it's changes to the ERS as well. And it means that from most of the team bosses that I've talked to this morning, they've gone, we don't have a clue.
Yeah, and Johnny, ERS, when the crowd say Bo Selector, but it is one of those things that the changes to that in itself have been really interesting as well. And when we say we're entering the unknown, we really are entering the unknown.
Yeah, because the biggest changes with ERS now is that it's pretty much basically, if you want to make it easy for everybody, it's all automatic. So the drivers can't manually deploy it, and that may put an end to these DRS and ERS trains we see, because obviously the DRS trains will continue, but it won't be as dramatic as we saw. And also, you cannot use ERS when you are traveling at below 100 kilometers an hour. So the starts are also going to be slightly more different for a few teams this season, and that's forced a change in procedure.
Yeah, there's one thing about starts that we're not going to talk about here today, but it'll be interesting. Race start from Interlagos coming up in a few minutes' time here on RaceSpot TV, iRacing Live, Twitch TV, Facebook Live, YouTube Gaming, you name it, we're there. We'll step aside for a few moments and we will be back. chair of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerrick at the line.
The yellow flag is out. Pit road is now open. Keep your eye on those gauges. We'll give you 4 tyres. 3, 2, 1, now. We're done. Get going.
Are you ready for some madness? Round number 1 of the 2018 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. It's here. We waited all winter long. But in terms of qualifying, it's New Year, same story. Martin Kroenke on top of the timing sheet as he looks to have a little bit of immortality here in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Sebastian Job, FAG2 Racing, second place. So it looks as though we could be in a 3, maybe even a 4-team situation this year, gunning for the World Championship. That is, if anyone can get up to the levels of that driver of Martin Kroenke. But behind, there's so much that's going to happen as well. Of course, this is Interlagos. This is a track where we start off the season by hoping and praying that all the drivers can make it through the center S, through the curve of the soul, through that first lap without creating too many incidents. But who knows what will happen over the next 70 plus laps. Welcome to the World Championship Grand Prix Series. We've missed you. It's been a long winter. Will Vincent, Jake Sperry, Jonathan Simone, Connery Maddock, social media, and my God, Johnny, it's glad to be back.
Oh, I love it. It's always good to be back here in the commentary booth for another season of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And I'm just intrigued, by the way. I'm very nervous right now. Martin Kroenke starting from pole. Number 1, is he going to get a clean start? It's got an uphill line going into the center S as well, so it's going to be a lot easier to gain traction. But most importantly, Will, if we see him, he's in first place. So going on a 4-stop may not be his option. We could see Martin Kroenke definitely on a 3-stop compared to everybody else on that 4-stop strategy. Because look at the track temperature, 43 degrees Celsius. There is no more of a greater challenge to these drivers than there has been today.
Oh, Jake, it's getting hot in here. By the way, welcome to iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
Officially, yes. I've done, I think, 6 over the last 2 years. So I've had my time, but it's now time to make that permanent. And I think that with hot tyres, hot track, it's going to be a case about who's going to save as much rubber on their tyres. I will note something, though. We have lost a driver between qualifying and racing, and this will really hurt the Australians because it's Josh Rogers who's not here.
And that's a huge shame. And we've been ranting and raving about Josh Rogers over, well, so long in the World Championship Series in terms of this, in terms of VRS and everything. But the thing is, Jake, having him not here, that is a blow to not only his championship, but in terms of part of the fun we're going to have here today.
We talk about the World Championship trying to be a World Series, and you can talk as many times as you like about how that works or how someone, you know, perceives the series. And having that Australian community represented, I think is what we look at for Australia and what we think of being one of the hubs of sim racing. Josh Rogers, I've happily said, I've written an article on him. I think he will be the first Australian world champion when it comes to the iRacing World Championship. But to not see him here, to not see him sign up quick enough, you know, anybody can fall foul of that. So, you know, get a little bit quicker on the trigger finger.
It is really a shame, man. So we're just having a look there. I want to give a quick shout out to everyone. It's from TrackCam22.com. Andreas Warner, the official helmet designer of Valtteri Bottas's helmet for 2018. Doing, of course, our overlay design, overlay animation. Simon Grossman, Actioneer.in, Nick Thisson, RaceSpot TV, live timing and scoring grid. Then is going to show up on your screen in a moment's time. And, well, Johnny, we've all got to think about the center rest now.
The center rest, turn number 1, nerves are at their highest as a driver as you grid up, you wait for the lights to illuminate. Some drivers, though, practice these and they simulate. If you have high number teams like Apex Racing UK with their 3,000 drivers, you can pretty much set out an entire grid and just make a few practice starts, have some fun. But most of all, Will, this is as exciting as it can get. Round number 1, odd, uncanny things. Drivers who have over-practiced, other drivers who aren't ready. Everything's all over the place. Track temperature high. We're ready to go racing.
Yeah, 90 seconds remaining in terms of practice. Well, Jake, give me your winner.
And still your reigning, defending, undisputed iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series champion, the beast, Martin Kroenke.
Johnny?
Boring one's Kroenke. I'd say Mitchell de Jong's a chance too from 3rd position.
He really is a sleeper here today. And again, they almost are going to have to, Jake. Let's touch upon this really quickly before we go to the grid. Coanda are going to have to put de Jong in a slightly different chassis to cover in case what Kroenke doesn't work.
They do, because Mitchell de Jong is just as quick, if not quicker, at times than Martin Kroenke. And he was the closest challenger last season to taking a race win away from Kroenke. And I certainly expect Mitchell de Jong to go out there and challenge. He said it personally to me. This is his last true season. He can make that push, of course. His schedule is always conflicted with the Global Rallycross Championship, and I think Mitchell de Jong wants to prove that he is a worthy title contender, a worthy adversary and rival to Martin Kroenke.
Yep, so let's have a look then through your starting grid for this round number 1 of the 2018 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And it will be Martin Kroenke starting on the front row of the grid. Alongside him will be the driver, Sebastian Joe from FA Racing G2 Logitech G. Oof, that's a big one to talk about. Currently Sim Sports, Mitchell de Jong, 3rd place. Gregor Hutu, Team Redline in P number 4. P5, Ollie Pakala, also for Team Redline. Of course, racing in virtual reality, Marcus Jensen, alongside him on that 3rd row of the grid. Kevin Ellis Jr. is sick today, but he's still racing. And it's an Apex Racing UK 4th row on the field. Matt Backham, P number 9, Yao Vaz, rounding out your top 10. Kazuki Umeshima, 11th place, with Frank Shawhorse in 12th. 13th place will be Jamie Fluke and Martin Piatella alongside him as the field moves up 1 position, of course, because of the fact there is no driver of Rogers. Moritz Lohner in 15th place, Michael Dinkel in 16th. Rest of the grid coming up on your screen, and it has been a long, long wait since the winter, but we are finally here. Welcome to 2018. iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And yeah, they may well be 6 World Championships, but this is the one, the fastest of all the World Championship Series. NASCAR might have its intense racing. The GT side, of course, has got itself its own intensity. But if you want fast-paced action, this is where you need to be. Getting ready for the start here then. From Interlagos, all the drivers are lined up. Here we are, 2018 officially underway. Lots of slow starts there through the field as the cars come in towards turn number 1. Kroenke does have himself the race leads. They come through the first corner. Question is, are they all going to make it through the center S? We got one driver that's gone off, but everyone's going to make it through. We got contact at the rear of the field there, and we got a second crash, a third crash. Radicals online, impacted big time at the start of this race, Jake.
Yeah, Filio, Partington and Saito all involved. Ilka Harpala are involved in an incident as well. A lot of drivers getting a bit nervous off the start. A lot of drivers running into issues. But what a start the Kawanda boys had. What a shocker of a start FA Racing G2 and also Redline had. They just bogged down off the start, had nothing. And now, in position number 3, is Marcus Jensen.
Yeah, Marcus Jensen's moved up. Gregor Hutu down into P number 6. But there is a driver of Marcus Jensen then in the Burst Esports car. And we need to talk about this one, Johnny, because it's been a kind of crazy situation. We didn't really know what Jensen was doing coming into the season. Well, we want to know one thing right now. He's running in 3rd.
He's learnt a few tips and tricks from his old Apex Racing UK team. He blistered off that start finish line and just screamed into the 3rd position. And Sebastian Job is down in 5th. He's never been a good starter, so that was typical of him to lose a few positions. He's already down to 6th as Gregor Hutu, the 5-time world champion, slots his way past. What about Kevin Ellis Jr. though in the 4th position? He's extremely sick with the flu. Here he is today in the 4th position.
Yeah, so he is running in P number 4 right now. Apex Racing UK. Live timing and scoring is available. Visit racebot.tv/timing. At the front of your field though, this has been the dream start for the 2 Kawanda Sim Sports drivers. Martin Kroenke is leading the race. Mitchell de Jong is in 2nd place. There's a second between them, and they're going to want to have that 1 second at the very least if they're going to make this one work, because of the fact that dirty air, tyres are going to be such a critical thing here today. You almost want de Jong to fall out that 1 second window, which is exactly what he's done right now. 2nd place, it's Mitchell de Jong. 3rd place, Marcus Jensen. Jensen is, though, keeping it right with that driver of Mitchell de Jong right now as they head themselves up the hill towards the start-finish line to start lap number 3. In terms of people who is out of this race, by the way, Yuta Saito on pit road, Isaac Price on pit road, Ilka Harpala on pit road. Such a shame to see Ilka Harpala kind of on pit out early on because, well, Jake, he's one of those drivers that quite often we always talk about being the sleeper driver, finishing the top 10, but we don't talk about him all day.
No, we don't. He's always very good. Of course, he has race victories as now Sebastian Job, who's just lost the position to Ollie Pakala, now comes under pressure from Mac Backham, and Backham storms past Sebastian Job. Job is pretty much out on his feet right now. It's almost as if he's just done 10 rounds of a boxing match, and now he's come back into this World Championship Series, and he's suddenly got absolutely nothing to offer here. Sebastian Job is struggling right now, Will. He needs to find out something to get himself going, because he's got an ex-teammate just behind him now, and that's Peter Berryman.
Yeah, and I'm wondering about this Sebastian Job situation here, Johnny. And, of course, you start with 100 kilos of fuel. You do not refuel this car, so the car will get lighter and lighter. That will mean the setup will change over the course of this race. You change tyres, you don't add fuel to the car. Maybe 1 or 2 of these drivers have got the car working for the latter stage of the race and not the start. And I'm wondering maybe that might be the approach that Sebastian Job and FA G2 Racing have done, because they have lost far too many places at the start of this race. Blame on a bad start alone.
Yeah, they just don't have straight line speed either. I mean, look at Peter Berryman right now sailing past Sebastian Job. It's going to be a braking battle though into the center S, still alongside each other, but Berryman with all the confidence. But very good point you bring up, Will. There's also the factor that maybe he could be saving tires. I mean, that first pit stop window, if you're on a 4-stop, we're going to see drivers come in as early as lap 12, excuse me. If you're on a 3-stop, lap 15 is around the range you'll be coming in. So this is definitely at the moment not a 2-stop race.
Yeah, on board right now, Matt Backham putting pressure on Ollie Pakala, battle for P number 6 on track. Ollie Pakala, of course, is one of these drivers, Jake, that races in virtual reality using the Oculus Rift headset. And we've got Matt Backham right behind him. Of course, Backham is one of those drivers some time off, comes back to the series, Coanda Simsport, and started his life, of course, in Radicals Online for a number of years. Gained a reputation at being a very fast driver, sometimes inconsistent. But ever since he's moved to Coanda Simsport, Backham really has kind of changed and evolved his character. And right now, he's forced Ollie Packler to lock his brakes twice in one lap.
Exactly, and this is the pressure that Matt Backham is applying to Ollie Packler. Packler had a horrific last season, which put him down with qualifying positions in the 30s there or thereabouts. So that's what Ollie Packler's wanted to improve on here at the start of this season. He's now back up the front. Of course, Ollie Packler, we always used to remind him of being the guy who'd always finish third in the championship. And now Matt Backham, looking to try and prove what he is worth right now, closes up but won't be close enough into the Interlagos on lap 5 of the event. It's now a case here of Matt Backham just running the middle sector as close to the rear as he possibly can.
Yeah, and some weird lines being taken there by Ollie Packler. You can see the energy recovery system regenerating by that red flashing light you see from the rear. Got to say as well, Team Redline deliveries for 2018, Johnny. Absolutely beautiful.
That's one of the best liveries of all time, basically. I'd say Formula One and iRacing all time. That is amazing. And not only that, but they've got a unique one for each driver on the team taking part. So Shotos has one that's different. Hutu's got his iconic cyan Finnish blue. Oh, look at Packler though through Yunsao. And we also have Peter Berryman getting past Sebastian Job. Where is Sebastian Job? All the way down
to 11.
To 11.
And this is insane right now for Job. I mean, as I say, you can blame a couple of positions at the race start, but he's in 8th gear right now. One of the things, by the way, we loved showing you in 2018. Finally, we've got ourselves these onboard graphics. We can see revs. We can see ourselves the gears that these people in 8 gears, of course, in these McLaren MP430s as you accelerate into 6th, into 7th, into 8th gear as you go down the Retro Aposta, down towards the Sega de Largo. We stay on board with Sebastian Job. He's now got David Williams behind him in the VOS Coanda Simsports car. And, well, I'll tell you what, one thing, Jake, there's a lot of people at FAG2 Racing scratching their heads very quickly unless they really do have a joke up their sleeve.
Well, it's an issue with Joe because Freddie Rasmussen is making progress. He's +5 and has just gone +6 because he's got past his ex-teammate, Paschalis Jurgis. And we've heard all about from Isaac Price how FA Racing G2, Corsim Racing could have only won the VRS GT titles if it was only those 2 drivers in there. Pash Jurgis wants to go and prove that. He's a very passionate man and he will know exactly what he needs to do in this race. Unfortunately, he's unable to really attack back Rasmussen, who's now looking at João Vaz thinking, you know what, why don't I give this one a crack now?
I want to talk about Marcus Jensen because one of the things that, Apex Racing and Bercy Sport potentially if they took some knowledge away, shall we say, Jensen and Ellis Jr. are staying with the 2 Coanda drivers right now, Jake. So, Jensen in 3rd place is only 7 tenths of a second behind Mitchell de Jong in that DRS range. Kevin Ellis Jr. only 7 tenths of a second behind Marcus Jensen inside DRS range. Gap between P1, P4, 2.6 seconds. This is not the kind of same old issue, for example, with Ellis Jr. that Apex Racing had all of last year. Well, they'll be good for a few laps and then fall off dramatically. I know we're only in lap number 7 of 71 here, but it's looking good right now.
It is looking good right now for Kevin Ellis Jr., but he does have to be a little bit cautious about who's behind him. Yes, that's right, 5-time world champion Gregor Hutu is sitting in the wings. And I think that Kevin Ellis Jr., he's been very outspoken as a personality. He's very much, you've got to get it right or I'm not going to like you sort of personality. So Kevin Ellis Jr. will want to make sure he gets this one right. Yes, he may be feeling under the weather, but I tell you what, it's not showing at this stage, Will.
Yeah, let's go on board with 5-time world champion Gregor Hutu into the Senna rest then, Johnny. And, well, the thing is at this stage, we're 8 laps into a stint. We know the tyres start falling off in a couple of laps times and already. You see that Hutu really had to do that 2-3 stabs of that car to get it through the curve of the soul.
Yeah, lap 10 is when they're going to start to lose the feel in the tyres. So I don't know if they've practiced in this hot of conditions before. If they haven't, that'd be idiotic. But surely they're well prepared as well. I don't really think Gregor Hutu expected Kevin Ellis Jr. and Marcus Jensen, 2 guys in their 2nd year of racing, to be in front of him. But right now, he's got a roadblock to catch those Coanda cars in front. And if not only does he not want Cronkite to match his win streak, but he certainly wants to grab that race win. to start off a great campaign for 2018.
Yeah, so there is Hutu running in P number 5. Ellis Jr. just ahead of him in the JCL Apex Racing UK machine right now. Number 98 car heading himself on the exit of Yun Sao up the hill through turn number 14 and 15 once again. So they're staying where they are. One of the things worth noting, you've got Frank Shawhorse down in P number 19 right now, Jake. I'll say that again. P number 19 in a Team Redline car.
And this is the driver that we expected to take the mantle away from Bono Haas, who is not racing this season, and go out there and prove it. Here is the finalist of the world's fastest gamer tournament, who lost out to Rudy Van Buren. This is the Freek Showthorst that we know can go up there. This is the Freek Showthorst that needs to get away from results like this, which actually cost him a shot at the championship and second position overall last season. This is not the Freek Showthorst that we know and love. We want to see a better Freek Showthorst who's out there racing at the front like we know he can do.
Yeah, and we know as well, the thing is, Johnny, is that, first race blues going to affect a number of the big teams. We talked about it in our pre-race show as well. Coanda, 2 years ago, this racetrack, they struggled. Sometimes, some people just don't hook it up in time. And a team like Team Redline, they have a number of different things that's all going on. But Shawhorse down in 19th place, he's on the rear of Moritz Lohner, but also as we have a look behind him as well. For example, you got like some Tommy Ostergaard in the number 1 machine, and well, we expected big things from Ostergaard in 2018, and he's down in P number 21.
Yeah, exactly. As now we look at Shawhorse possibly making his way past the rookie Moritz Lohner. Seems to be an easy move as well. He's going to have DRS. Well, they're both going to have DRS actually, but the straight line speed is for Shawhorse. And straight pass as well. But you talk about Ostergaard too, Will. This is his first race in the World Championship and also first race for one of the best teams in sim racing of Coanda Simsport.
Yeah. Number of changes that's happened over the course of 2018. And Jake, you talked about it as being one of the busiest, crazy, silly seasons that we've seen in the history of the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Of course, it's happened here and also in the VRS GT World Championship as well. But it seems to be that where you have consistency, you've got yourself out front, 2 VRS Coanda Simsports drivers. But also where you have change with Marcus Jensen, same things can apply. You can actually still be really good as well.
Yeah, you certainly can. There's 2 different philosophies. Sometimes you look to change for a team. Sometimes you go out there and make a push for your team to go out there and work. So it's 2 different sides of a different coin, I think, that we're looking at here. Or 2 different sides of the same coin, sorry. I think that a lot of drivers need to work out where they need to be. I think Marcus Jensen was confident enough to make a bold move as he did to put himself there. And look at how this field now, especially in the mid part then of this opening stint as we head to lap 11, no takers, have pretty much bunched up here. You've got De Jong, Jensen, Ellis Jr. and Hutu on that last lap, mind you, who's actually quicker than Martin Kroenke.
And we're into that window, by the way. Yao Vaz and Antoine Hegelin just swapping positions. Orion Race Team, of course, one of the oldest teams in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And I actually think you put them, Johnny, along with Team Redline. I think they are the 2 oldest teams. We do not count Coanda Simsport for their lineage with Free ID Gaming because of the fact they did completely change their management and the entire thing.
Yep, and good segue too, because you know what else is getting old? These set of tyres. It's time for the first pit window. If you're on a 4-stop, it is time to come into the pit lane this time around. That pit window opens for the first time this season.
And let's have a look then. Kroenke, by the way, out front, has extended his gap to 1.8 seconds over Mitchell de Jong. He will stay out. And again, these drivers in clean air, these are the ones who I expect to just stay out. The thing that will be interesting is down in this pack around P number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, Johnny. This is where we are more likely to see someone dive in early because clean air could be a big thing. There's a big lock up there for Peter Berryman. He loses the position there to Martin Piatella. Piatella's on the move.
Yeah, so Piatella joins Backham in front. I don't think Berryman's going to have the momentum on the Reto Aposta straight here. No chance to fight his way back into 8th. So if he was thinking about a pit stop, like you were saying, Will, in this range, it's very, definitely not worked out for him. He's got Jamie Fluke behind his teammate. They're all going to have to work together here.
Yeah, and we're just having a look at the replay there. And what actually happened with Peter Berryman, he ran into the rear of Matt Backham in towards the center S. He locked up. It was a light piece of contact. He gave back him a bit of a wiggle, but then Berryman lost out that position to Marty Piatella. And well, this is just vintage Marty Piatella right now as we go on board of him, Jake. This is that driver. Like, he's not always the best qualifier in Commander Sim spots, but he always finds his way into the top 10. He's had a couple of podiums recently, of course. And this is the Piatella that we absolutely know and absolutely love, and also one of the funnest people in this series.
This is the reason why you love Marty Piatella as a driver, because he always has a knack of making 4 or 5 positions very early on in a race, as he has Peter Berryman closing, but not enough to make the move into the center S for the very first time. And Marty Piatella knows that he's got himself his teammate Matt Backham in front, who has struggled over the last couple of laps, and again, time gained by Piatella that last time by, as Ollie Pakala pulls away. You're now starting to work out, okay, what sort of pace are we running? How are we saving the tyres? How are things going? Tyre degradation very much dropping off at this stage. If I told you that Peter Berryman's first lap time was a 14.1 and his last lap was a 16.9, what would that say?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing for these drivers in the mid-pack, Johnny. You can gain the advantage by coming in, and welcome to Formula One racing, undercut.
Yeah, exactly. The undercut will work as well. So an option for some of these
We've got a
drivers.
spinner, Yao Vaz.
Oh, no, not for Yao Vaz. He had a great qualifying performance. There he is now rejoining just alongside. There's Daniel Bieder going past. Dion Burgess is right behind. His teammate doesn't want to get in the way of him. But right now what we're seeing, Will, is these drivers may be going for that 3-stop strategy, because that window opens around lap 15. If they can make the tires last this long, then they could be able to switch on to that 3-stop.
Yeah, and what we saw there, and this is an interesting thing, Jay, is drivers starting to run over other drivers. So some drivers have found a way of managing the tyre wear. They're now starting to gain a couple of positions. We're going to show the graphic on your left-hand side of your screen right now of the movers and shakers in this event so far. For other drivers, they are starting to really lose tyre wear, and I think we're going to be in a situation, it's Freddie Rasmussen, by the way, now right behind Sebastian Job, 2 teammates going into Ferradura side by side for the moment, and that is going to be the driver of Freddie Rasmussen getting himself past Sebastian Job. But it's going to be a case of solo spins and people running over each other in this phase of the race.
And I think we saw in that situation, Sebastian, Frederick is faster than you. So I think right now what we're looking at here is a bit of team orders there, because Sebastian Job is the slower driver. Freddie Rasmussen had a very shocking qualifying start to P20th, has made 8 positions now, 9 positions in the opening stint. We're starting to see drivers now gearing up. Is it now my time to come down onto the lane? We know Kroenke will probably stay out as long as there is someone else behind him looking to keep himself going through, but that gap hasn't really broken much, Will. It's 2 seconds, so they're all there, they're all having this little, okay, I could make this move, I maybe could not make this move, and still no takers.
Yeah, as Freek Shawhorse moves up 1 position, he gets himself past Patrice Gergis in towards the center S. So Shawhorse now up 1 position. He was 19th earlier on. Now he's up into 15th. So he is starting to make some ground up here. And this is one of those things. The tyre management's interesting. What's going on? What's you? Rasmussen's off.
Yeah, Rasmussen went off. I believe that was at turn number 1. He was right up close, missed his braking point, almost took Jamie Fluke out in the process. So Jamie Fluke gets away with 1, and that's the position lost again. So is it going to be a case of team orders again then from FA Racing G2?
No, Johnny, I don't think we're allowed that one.
No, I don't. Logically now he's going to earn it. I mean, I know it's his first race. I know he's the world's best sim racer in terms of endurance, but right now, this is a different form of racing. You know, he proved himself in the Pro Series, but when it comes to round 1, he's going to shake off a bit of rust. And we're definitely going to see a lot better from Rasmussen throughout the season. But that was not going to make his highlight reel for sure. Which, by the way, I want to point something out. Gregor Hutu now in 5th. He is much faster than anybody out there on track, except for Martin Kroenke. He's just stuck behind traffic.
He is indeed, and this is one of the issues that Team Redline's had over the years. They've had fantastic aerodynamic grip, but sometimes lack a little bit in the straight line speed department. That is the case here today, as we see. Pardon?
Got to take her on pit road, Will.
Who we got?
Daniel Bieder.
Ooh, that's going to be an interesting one, as we're going to have a look then. But Martin Kroenke does look as though Gregor Hooter looks as though he is fast, but he is just struggling to find that straight line speed as the PSR car comes out of pit road. So, in terms of the Johnny Simone pit strategy window, that's in kind of three-stop territory there, Johnny, almost.
Yeah, it looks like a three-stop territory, but what we're seeing right now is the track is rubbering up so well that the tires could be lasting a lot longer in race conditions to practice, and that might be why these drivers are trying to stretch this to a two-stop. So we'll wait and see. Two stops about lap 21 onwards that they have to make that first stop, and I think these drivers are trying to stretch it that far. We'll see. Hutu's very close to Kevin Ellis Jr., but not close enough heading into the center S.
Yeah, Gregor Hutu is currently dialing up the Honda engine department and saying, hi guys, can I have a bit more horsepower right now? Because he wants to find himself past Kevin Ellis Jr. He is clearly faster in terms of the twisty sections on track, just cannot get close enough. Of course, Ellis Jr. behind Marcus Jensen. Your three drivers then, P number 3, Marcus Jensen. P number 4, Kevin Ellis Jr. P number 5 of Gregor Hutu. They are all now in a very tight window, separated by just 7/10 of a second. Martin Kroenke does continue to lead this motor race, by the way, and the gap between himself and Mitchell de Jong is now up to 2.2 seconds. The gap between Mitchell de Jong and Marcus Jensen is up to 1.2 seconds. So Jensen is no longer in the DRS range of Mitchell de Jong. And then you've got Ellis Jr. in 4th right behind. Gregor Hutu in 5th right behind. Then a 4-second gap to Ollie Packard, Matt Backham in 7th, Martin Piatella in 8th. 9th place is Jamie Fluke, 10th place Sebastian Job. And by the way, those of you who are playing the Fernando Alonso reference drinking game, we've had one so far today, so take a little sip as we come down in towards turn number 1 once again for these drivers. And well, Ellis Jr. is having the same issue as Gregor Hutu right now, Jake. You can get close. He actually got very close. Late on the brakes, bit of a wiggle, almost ran into the rear of Marcus Jensen as Jamie Fluke now is onto pit road.
Yeah, we saw Peter Berryman come in a lap earlier, so Jamie Fluke's going to try and cover off the move then from position number 10 as again, close goes Gregor Hutu into the corner, and same could be said for Kevin Ellis Jr. Not going to happen on Marcus Jensen. Maybe a good run out of here, out of the Interlagos, makes the run to Ferradura. Look to the inside, only showing the nose, probing for information at this stage is Kevin Ellis Jr. I think he's bogged down and frustrated right now, Will, being behind Jensen. I think he knows he's quicker, and he doesn't want to lose Mitchell de Jong's rear tail.
Yeah, and again, let's talk about this one a little bit here, Johnny. We've got a situation where Kevin Ellis Jr. is currently in an Apex Racing UK car that would struggle midway through one. That was a big wiggle there by Marcus Jensen in the run through Mugello into Yun Sao. I think those tyres have gone for Marcus Jensen. Ellis Jr., this could be a good opportunity because Jensen was slow through Yun Sao as they head themselves down towards the center S.
Yeah, he's going to get closer and closer here. I think the pass could be done. It's all about the braking zone. How close do you want to get through turn number 1? But the robust move from Kevin Ellis Jr. slots himself up into that provisional podium so far. Now Jensen has to look out for Gregor Hutu, who's ready to pounce behind, but Hutu's not close enough. Yeah,
and Freddie Rasmussen's on pit road. We also had a switch of position going on. Matt Backham has got himself ahead of Ollie Packard, so we back him up into P number 6, move Ollie Packard down into P number 7. Freddie Rasmussen then in the FA Racing GT Logitech G car out of pit road. He comes almost hits a wall there, Jake, as he exits pit road.
Yeah, he's got to be careful about that. He's pushing, and he knows that he is pushing. So Freddie Rasmussen understands that he needs to get out there. He's ahead of Peter Berryman on circuit, so that's a very crucial factor there as Rasmussen maintains himself ahead of Berryman with his nice, beautiful, pink-coloured wheel rims, I think is the word I'm trying to get out of my mouth. But Rasmussen gains that advantage, so he'll be out there, and he'll be pushing right now, Will, to try and get the most out of the tyres, get the most out of the undercut as he possibly can. No real takers as of yet.
Yeah, as he's come out 3.9 second pit stop there. Marcus Jensen is on pit road as well. Yeah, you're right there, Johnny. Take it away.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I got too excited. Finally, someone out of the top 5 pitted, but Jensen searching for his box. Shouldn't have any damage. Should be a quick 3-second pit stop.
Yeah, he's in. Oh, he overshoots.
Rookie mistake.
5.4 seconds. That's going to cost him at least 2 positions there, Johnny.
Yeah, he's already behind Hutu. Unless something goes wrong for Gregor. Right now, he's already behind him. He'll be safe from Mac Backham, though. So Marcus now will probably feed out in the 5th position.
Yeah, as they come out side by side as well with David Decor in towards Interlagos and Marcus Jensen. That was an important moment there for him, Jay, because if he got stuck behind the driver David Decor, then basically he would have been his race over. Top 5 would have been a pipe dream from then on in.
Exactly. Davide Corpse is on old tyres. Marcus Jensen is on the fresh rubber. You don't want to be stuck behind someone who's slower, especially with the dirty air effect, which can really hamper someone an opportunity to make overtakes. So you've got to make sure that you make the moves as and when you try and make those happen. No takers then, once again, from the leading 2. But Gregor Hutu covers off the move. I'm not sure he'd get the call, though, Will, that Marcus Jensen's overshot his box.
Yeah, so there we are. As we're going on board with that driver right now of Gregor Hutu in towards pit road. And here he is. One graphic. Out and away. 4.6 seconds. He kind of started out a pit road a bit there, Jake.
Yeah, he struggled to get the power down. That's what we saw off the start. Maybe they're struggling with that low gear. And look at this, Marcus Jensen, side by side. They come out to pit road. Hutu looking to try and get the run, but he's got no traction on that inner line heading through turn number 3 to Curva de Sol. Jensen maintains ahead. A slow stop for Hutu has cost him a chance of getting past.
Yeah, and that was a bit of what we like to call a stuttery pit stop coming out of pit road. He just seemed to have absolutely no traction at all there, Johnny.
Yeah, that was very weird because he pretty much had that position signed, sealed, delivered, really, Gregor. And I think Jensen with fresh rubber was able to compensate for the time that he lost. But, you know, if your radio, your engineers are telling you basically, okay, Jensen's had a bad pit stop, it makes you calmer as a driver when you're Gregor.
Kroenke's in.
And maybe he got too complacent, and that's what forced the slow stop. But let's have a look at Martin Kroenke and De Jong into the pit lane.
Yep, so lap number 22 at 71 on towards pit road. 2-stop strategy window now for Martin Kroenke into his pit box, and you would almost argue that he's reacting to a couple of these other drivers as well that have just made themselves their pit stop. Out and away goes Martin Kroenke. Pit stop time for him as he comes out. No issues at all. 4.1. Ellis Jr. is sped on pit road.
Yeah, he was far too quick coming down in there, Will. I had a look at it. I thought he was maybe a little bit too complacent with the line, and that's 15 seconds. That's a mistake from not being fighting at the front of the field at any given point. Look at where he comes out. He's got Jurgis there. He's got the likes of Tommy Østergaard there. And behind all of that as well, there's Dion Verges. So he's right in the middle of traffic now.
Completely ruined what had actually been a fantastic race for Apex Racing UK up until that point. So the JCL Apex Racing UK machine now just working behind the driver of Tommy Østergaard, who has made a pit stop as well. So that is basically a net loss of 12 positions there, Jake. And well, now we're going to see what Kevin Ellis Jr. is made of.
Yeah, we are. We're going to see how Kevin Ellis Jr. is going to scrap and claw. The Scotsman will want to make some positions. We know he will. The question now becomes who dives in. Mac Backham now will decide to hit the lane. Will he be nice on it? Yes, he'll be very, very complacent with the line. In comes Piatella. In comes Job. Surprised Job's actually gone that long. Net lead goes back once again to Martin Kroenke.
Yeah, and for Sebastian Job, we really want to pay attention to this because, of course, he was so slow on the first 5 laps of this motor race. He's gone towards pit road right now. Let's have a look at the time as he comes in. 4 seconds, out and away, but he's lost place there to Martin Piatella, who's also come out of pit road himself. Sebastian Job down in number 12. That's a net loss, of course, there, Johnny, of 10 places for the FA Racing GT Logitech G-Car. I still do not understand what went wrong in the first 10 laps of Sebastian Job's race.
I'm not sure if he was conserving tyres. I mean, we know Sebastian has his trademark poor start, so he had 2 months after the Pro Series, basically around 2 months, to figure out how to start this car. And it doesn't seem like he figured out how to do so. So he's definitely going to figure out a solution to that. But right now, where is he down in P12? The good news is, to the right side, he's ahead of Kevin Ellis Jr., who's had that long pit stop. If you're Kevin Ellis Jr., Will, right now, if I'm team manager, if I'm Alex Simpson, who's actually still in this race too, he should put an arm around the shoulder of Kevin Ellis Jr. and maybe not speak to him after the race right now, a driver never wants to be spoken to after a race when they've had a poor showing. You know, you let him go, speak to him the next day or a few hours later, and then just move on to the next event. He's shown some great pace.
Yeah, also, Gregor Hootu there just made a pass over Marcus Jensen in towards turn number 1. We saw it then as we flicked over. We're going to have another replay on board with Gregor Hootu as he worked himself down towards turn number 1. And that was just one of those easy passes. Got it done with the DRS engaged. Worked himself through, so it now moved Gregor Hootu up into 3rd place. We're back into familiar territory all of a sudden. It's the Coanda and Team Redline show here in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, lap number 24 of 71. Live timing and scoring, of course, is available. Visit racebook.tv/timing. Kroenke leads. The gap between himself and Mitchell de Jong, 1.8 seconds up. Worth noting, however, it is only 3.5 seconds right now between, let's get this, 3.5 seconds, Jake, between Martin Kroenke and Gregor Hootu.
And Gregor Hootu, after his poor start, has really recovered well. 14.1 he managed to make on that last lap. Compare that to the 14 flat of Kroenke, the 14.1 of Mitchell de Jong. He pretty much keeps that gap at around 3.5 seconds, so he's just got to work on this stint, push himself maybe a little bit further forward, and he'll be able to just hit that rhythm as we know Gregor Hootu can do, has done. Of course, the driver with the most wins, 5 championships, most championships, and we know what Gregor Hootu is capable of. It's now about how he decides he wants to close down Mitchell de Jong, as de Jong will be the last bastion of hope for Martin Kroenke to retain the race lead.
Yeah, indeed so. Right now we are having a look at Gregor Hootu, as we say, in 3rd place, 3.6 seconds is the gap. Although Marcus Jensen isn't dropping back here, we're actually going to go on board then with that driver of Marcus Jensen, Burst Esport car even, for Marcus Jensen, number 12 car. Let's ride a lap on board. This is Racebook TV, fan immersion. Let's go over and turn our attention to Mac Backham, Peter Berriman right now. This is the battle going on for P number 8, Jake, on track. 0.3 per second. Well, Matt Backham has been scrapped already all day long. He's lost out, though, over the sequence of pit stops because he was ahead of Olli Pakila. He's now fallen behind, although he goes down to the inside of Peter Berriman. And he's going to stay side by side as they work themselves then on the exit of the Interlagos. Now up towards Ferradura, and Backham's through.
Yeah, Backham through. He was fighting for at least the last 2 laps on that position and could have very easily have lost it. We also saw at turn 1, will Marti Piatella just get it horribly wrong. That's brought back in Antoine Higeland and Sebastian Job into the battle. Of course, Job and Higeland, former teammates back in the Apex Racing UK days. So about 2 seasons ago, they used to be teammates. So we'll see whether they're going to be nice together. I know they have their own little one-hand gang, shall we say, that they like being a part of. But very interestingly, the battle going on. Rasmussen's found Jamie Fluke this one for position number 5.
Yeah, and there's a replay of Marty Piatello in towards turn number 1. We've seen this quite a lot today. People kind of are overshooting their braking zones, especially into the likes of the Center S, also into the Interlagos and into turn number 8 on track. But there is Freddie Rasmussen. There's an interesting story here, Johnny, because on one hand, we've got an FAG2 racing driver who's completely underperformed in Sebastian Joe. There's no other way of saying that in the start of this race. But here is Freddie Rasmussen now, up into P number 6. He's been gaining positions all day long, and this is now Freddie Rasmussen's chance to say, look, I'm not just a GT racer, I can do it in open wheels as well.
Yeah, not that he already didn't prove himself in the Pro Series. So Rasmussen right now trying to find his way past Jamie Fluke, one of the smartest high IQ racers out there at the moment. I think, you know what, starting 20th, top 5, if he can potentially get it, that's a great first round, first career race for him, really, in the series for Freddie Rasmussen. The main aim, though, I think, is that we've tipped him for a podium. I think he can get it, possibly a race win if he can beat Martin, but man, that's going to be tough for pretty much every single other driver out there, too.
But this is the thing, Jay. This is what I was expecting Bono House to be doing this time last year. I mean, yeah, I know it's not quite the podium position yet. And yes, I am picking up Freddie Rasmussen a little bit. He's still got Jamie Fluke, Marcus Jensen and Gregor Hutu to get past before he's got the opportunity to get to a podium. But this is what I expected Bono House to be doing in his first race in the World Championship Series last year.
I think Bono House did, though, Will, and I think that the credit wasn't given to Bono House in the sense of what he was able to achieve. He still finished second in the championship, mind you, and still had some very, very good consistent results with 4 podiums to his name. I think this is the toughest series in the world to get in and actually get consistent and consistently at the top. Freddie Rasmussen has a massive uphill challenge, and we've already seen just in this event alone, there are 15 challengers for that top 5 position, and not everyone's going to get a top 5.
No. There is Sebastian Joe, by the way, currently mired in P number 12. Antoine Hegelin and Peter Berryman just ahead. To run through the retirees out of this race so far, Isaac Price, Michael Partington, Kazuki Umeshima, Daniel Arndt-Wensing, Yuta Saito and Ilka Happala have all had issues here in the first round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Olli Pakala, Freddie Rasmussen. This is a developing battle right now on board with the driver of Olli Pakala in that really striking green, kind of almost Venom-like livery in towards turn number 1 there, Johnny.
Yeah, the best livery out there already this series. But look how aggressive Freddie Rasmussen's looking on the exit of the Center S, those first couple of corners. Possible move here for Rasmussen up the inside of turn 4. Boom! Straight past Jamie Fluke. Pakala should have been ready to pounce though, and he wasn't. Fluke's going to try and fight back.
Yeah, in towards Ferradura they come. So we'll keep it with this. We're going to show you a replay from our aerial coverage brought to you by And1 Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpot TV, in towards, and that was literally just what we like to call one of those slingshot moves in towards Interlagos. Nicely done. Well, Jamie Fluke tried to kind of battle that one out on the run in towards Ferradura. Not able to do so. Freddie Rasmussen now up into P number 5. Well, the thing is, he's got a bit of work to do now. 5 seconds before he'll get to Marcus Jensen in P number 4. And also worth noting that Olli Pakala is charging as well. We go back on board with Olli Pakala in towards turn number 15, towards the start-finish line, Jake. And well, Pakala, we know that red line have had their... Oh, look at that. That was a very late move, and it always worked.
But he probed for the inside. It wasn't there. He needs to get the run here out of turn 3 to Curva de Sol, making the run down the Reto Aposta towards the Desquita de Largo. And I think that Olli Pakala maybe showed his hand a little bit too early there. If he set the run up through 2, he could get that slingshot effect that we saw Rasmussen had through the Curva de Sol and into here, turns 4 and 5. Now the run up to Ferradura. I don't think Pakala has that opportunity to attack now. He'll be sitting for another lap, but more crucially, Jamie Fluke has the DRS at this stage with Freddie Rasmussen just in front, and Jamie Fluke's only goal at this stage is to stay within the 1 second window.
Yes, indeed. So as we have a look then from the rear of Jamie Fluke. Oh, and this is one of those things that just seems to be in the middle section of the racetrack. There's more traction for that Team Red Line number 26 machine of Olli Pakala as they work themselves now through Mugello in towards Yunsao, turn number 12 on track. They come again. Up the hill they come, but this is where The issues have been a little bit for Ollie Pakula, especially as Jamie Fluke is still within that DR range. Gap is 3.5 tenths to a second right now. DRS engaged for both Jamie Fluke in the 49 and for Ollie Pakula in the number 26 in towards center S. Once again, no change. As well, there are a couple of other little battles going on up and down your field. We've got Berryman then side by side of Antoine Hegelin. Two teammates going at it down at Apex Racing UK, Johnny.
Yeah, that was Hegelin going straight past, and Antoine looking really good at this stage of the race. He's already into the top 10. And this is a driver who started all the way down from P22. So Anton Hegelin, very underrated. He's continued away with a great race here as well. You talk about red line setup. Maybe they've gone for that. You talked about them being better through the middle sector. Well, it could be that higher downforce possibly.
Yeah.
This circuit, it's anti-roll bars is a huge setup element in this car as well, especially in any open wheeler. But high downforce does make a difference, even though they're middle speed corners.
Yeah. You can't say anti-roll bar until May. That's an Indy 500 thing, but I know exactly what you mean. In terms of these cars, Sebastian Joe, Peter Berryman going at it for P number 11 right now. Lap number 32 of 71. So, Jake, we are getting close now to the halfway point in this event. And for some drivers, that will mean they are going to be back on pit road in the next 7 to 8 laps time. For other drivers, of course, those that are doing a two-stopper, it's worth noting they're not going to come in on lap number 42, as here we have side by side, and that is going to be Kevin Ellis Jr. down the inside, big wiggle in towards turn number 1, loses that position with Sebastian Joe, but they're going to carry on going at it as they work themselves now through Curva de Sol and down towards Desago de Lago.
Well, there was a chance for Kevin Ellis Jr., but he lost all his drive, going far too deep into turn number 1. That's allowed Job the chance to defend for another lap longer. And with Kevin Ellis Jr., the fastest man of the three, including Hegeland and Berryman, I think we could see orders get myself through the field as quickly as you possibly can. Keep an eye, though, for position number 2. Hello, says Gregor Hutu. Mitchell de Jong is just there in front of him, and now the sudden realization is the buffer could be Mitchell de Jong. You need to go now on full defensive mode.
Yeah, and that's not the sort of thing that Mitchell de Jong would want to be hearing for the Koanda Sim Sports camp, but the gap is 6 tenths to a second. Dirty air effect here, Johnny, will come into play. And we saw how hard it was earlier on for Gregor Hutu to make a pass over the driver of Kevin Ellis Jr. Back when that was the battle going on for what was MP4 on track. So, although it's a bit of a worry going on right now for Mitchell de Jong and Koanda, it's not a full amount of worry. And Koanda would have said to Mitchell de Jong, look, he's not got the straight line speed.
Yep, as you say that, Berryman comes into the pit lane, possibly on that 3-stop strategy. Kevin Ellis Jr. also makes his way past Sebastian Job to their will, but yep, you make a good point on that. And I have to say as well, you might want to compensate for that dirty air loss, maybe you want to dial in a degree or two extra on that front wing, but then that really compromises your balance, and you want to be comfortable in this car as a driver. You're not searching for lap time or trying to compensate for dirty air. You just want to be comfortable through every single corner, the left and right handers, the sweeping corners, the off-cambered ones. You want to be smooth through them all. Peter Berryman, though, out of the pit lane, and he finds himself all the way down in P22. Very early stop. It looks like he switched onto the 3-stop.
Yeah, bit of a counter steer there for Ollie Pakula. We go back on board of him in that ongoing battle with Jamie Fluke. Now, Fluke is still in DRS range of the driver, Freddie Rasmussen. Ollie Pakula, you see he closes right up. He's trying another late lunge, looking down to the inside. There's nothing there for him to give. I think that this is now just a waiting game. And, well, Jamie Fluke, basically, the second he loses DRS, Jake, he's going to lose that position to Ollie Pakula.
But Pakula's got to be careful here, Will, because that's about the 5th time today I've seen him lock up the brakes into a corner. I think there's something maybe in the brake bias for Ollie Pakula that just isn't really going to be helping him, and the more that he starts wearing those tyres out, the more he starts trying to attack. He's now going to start falling into the clutches of Mac Backham, who's closed back up again, wanting to make the move for position number 7. And Mac Backham, as we know, wants to put the cats amongst the pigeons, because if anybody goes alternative here, Mac Backham's got to be the one who looks to respond to that in terms of the Koanda effect.
Yeah, and you can see Mac Backham is there in that train in P number 8 right now. You can get social with us, by the way. Join us on Facebook /RaceSpot TV and at @RaceBot TV on Twitter as well. Never miss a moment from the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. We'll have highlights for you on Twitter as we got a car on towards pit road, and that is the driver of Jamie Fluke. So that's going to be very interesting in terms of that mid-pack battle. That is free stock territory that's going on right now, Johnny. And while for Jamie Fluke, I think he's just undone a lot of his race. Unless he ends up in clean air, maybe Apex have found himself a gap where he can come in and run in a bit of clean air. And this is going to be fascinating as he comes out of pit road.
Yeah, so we'll see where he feeds out, which is very important as well. And Michael Dinkel goes past Pascalis Georgis. In the meantime, that's a battle for P14 out on the racetrack. But Fluke right now should be ahead of Moritz Lochner. Out and away easy for Jamie Fluke in P15. He's right behind that battle of Dinkel and Georgis. Now, what's interesting here, Will, is because Marcus Jensen only recently left Apex to go to his new team, is he possibly on the 3-stop? Are the Coanda cars on a 2-stop strategy? Who knows as this track rubbers up right now? It makes the tyre degradation a little less worse.
Yeah, and Michael Dinkel, by the way, through on Pascalis Georgis. Talk about that one. Let's have a look at the front of your field. There is Martin Kroenke. Gap 3.1 seconds between himself and Mitchell de Jong. Back from Mitchell de Jong to Gregor Hutu. It is still a solid and stable, strong and stable 8 tenths of a second, almost 9 tenths of a second between Mitchell de Jong and Gregor Hutu. Worth noting here, Jake, as well, that for these drivers, the reason why I'm saying that they're not going to come in necessarily at lap number 42, because this track rubber's in, it'll do one of two things. It either gives you more grip or it makes the track more slippery offline. So this is why I think it'll be more kind of lap 46, 47 that we're likely to see a lot of these drivers on a 2-stoppers come in. Also means that if their lap times don't fall off as dramatically, they'll have fresher tyres for the end of the race.
Let's not forget they're lighter on fuel, and that makes you easier on the tyres. So I think naturally you're going to see that go a little bit further, as Ollie Packer is in a fantastic scrap right now with Matt Backham. And suddenly, here's Mr. I can make positions as and when I choose to declare it, Marty Piatella just behind, thinking, well, if you're going to have this scrap, I'm going to decide I want 2 more positions. So you look at Matt Backham, unable to really make that move, needs a good run from Jun Sao once again, and he gets a decent run, not brilliant, but Ollie Packler are able to put that power down. But I think you're going to see here the difference in downforce levels as Matt Backham will definitely try to close that gap back more.
Yeah, as we have a look down in towards turn number 1 again. Matt Backham, congratulations, we're halfway through the motor race right now. Matt Backham right on the rear of Ollie Packler as they work themselves through the centre rest, through the curve of the star, now onto the retro pista once again. And it does look as though that Backham, well, he looked slow there through the curve of the soul, but then he gained right at the last moment as they come in towards turn number 4, Johnny.
Yeah, very interesting section of the racetrack, this one. Going through Ferradura, it's blind up here. You just clutch at straws, really. You're like, oh, where am I going to end up? Whoa, Bacala almost lost it. And kept it together, though, heading towards this middle part of the lap here through turn 9. Lots of camber through turn number 9. It's a very fun corner. Boom! Up the inside goes Backham. Contact is made between the two.
Yeah, and there's Ollie Packard. He's off. And he loses a couple of positions, but it's not a big crash. I want to know. We'll just keep an eye out. We'll be able to see on the run into Yun Sao if there is any damage there to Ollie Packard's car that's going to affect the balance of that hand. Well, he is counter-steering a lot there. It was a side-on contact. Let's have a second look at that one as middle part of the racetrack. That was down at Bico de Pato, turn number 10. And it was a light lunge, and I just don't think Ollie Packard is ready for it there, Jake.
I don't think it was the fact that Ollie Packler wasn't ready. I think he gave plenty of room for the driver of Matt Backham, and Backham really did struggle. Now Backham's fighting with Marty Piatella here, and Marty Piatella gained 2 positions. I think Backham still thinks he's quicker. No damage on that machine. Won't be able to make that move. But I think Matt Backham was far too aggressive there. He'd been stuck for however long he was. He'd been fighting side by side. He saw the opportunity. He went for it. But ultimately, Matt Backham has had a tendency of running into red line drivers. Let's just hark back to Indianapolis last year, where he got a 1-race ban after contact with Gregor Hutu, mind you.
Yes. And there he is. And I think what happened is in that situation, he kind of just slid off the racetrack a little bit. Still running in P number 7. There's the top 3 on the left-hand side of your screen. Kroenke leads 3.2 seconds. The gap between himself and Mitchell de Jong. and then a further 7 tenths of a second back there is Gregor Hutu. And having a look at this battle going on down your mid-pack, Sebastian Job, Antoine Heglin. That's the battle that's going on as well. That is for the final position inside of your top 10. Sebastian Job, just having a look at the lap times last time by, was about equal with Antoine Heglin. They'll come past the start-finish line once again. 1:15.4 for Antoine Heglin. That time by is a 1:15.2 for Sebastian Job, Jake.
Yes, and Sebastian Job gaining 0.2 of a second, wants to get the run here, heading towards the Desquita de Lago. In front of that, Kevin Ellis Jr. is looking feisty. He's got Ollie Pakala just in front, wants to make the move, unable to make that happen. So we've got a little bit of Noah's Ark here. We've got 3 battles of 2 going on as they all want to try and make some position. Sebastian Job again, very good run here on the run to Ferradura, but not able to really attack the driver of Antoine Heglin. Wasn't able to get side by side and wasn't able to really make that move in towards Ferradura. So it's a game of waiting, it's a game of margins, it's a game of numbers, and for the first time in this event, Gregor Hutu really does look closer to Mitchell de Jong. I think he's within 0.6 tenths, if not half a second now, Will.
Yeah, it is down to 0.6 tenths of a second. Well, Johnny, that's the thing. Catching one thing, passing another, of course, for Gregor Hutu. But you might think about here, undercut. Is it worth bringing in Hutu 1 lap earlier to get the undercut and to basically then try and force Koana Simsport's hands? Because 0.6 tenths of a second, I mean, I know these drivers are absolute professionals, but having a look, like last time they came on towards pit road, it was a 20.4 pit entry to pit exit for Gregor Hutu. Compare that to a 19.7 for Mitchell de Jong.
Yeah, so as Alex Simpson spins in the background, we're hearing word. Look, I think to do right now 30 laps to the end of this race on 1 set of tires is insane. You're talking, that's like almost one stopping this race, basically. So right now, Hutu undercutting at this stage, it's a bit too early. You have to wait at least, if they're on that 2-stop, at least to the lap 45 range is the absolute earliest you can come in. I think they're going to go a lot longer than that, but man, at the moment, you're talking 3 of the world's best sim races. Right now, I'd rank this top 3 as your top 3 talent right now on this 40-car grid. You're talking about them fighting tooth and nail right now. 4.2 seconds separating the 3 of them. I don't think this race is over for Martin Kroenke either. He's got to look out for Hutu's strategy, like you say.
Yeah, 3.6 seconds between P number 1, P number 2, and 7 tenths of a second between P number 2 and P number 3. In terms of Freddie Rasmussen, I want to touch on this one a little bit here, Johnny, as well, because he has gained about a second over Marcus Jensen over the last 7-8 laps.
Yeah, so maybe the tires are starting to come to him. He's starting to find some rhythm. And you spoke about it earlier on in the race, Will. Sometimes a setup as a driver, if he likes that low fuel setup, which these FA Racing G2 cars could be more preferred to on lighter fuel, maybe that's why he's a little bit quicker at this stage of the race. You know, when you're in testing as a driver, I like to always set like a mid-tank and then make all my setup adjustments with a mid-level tank. And so then you're favoring both the race and qualifying. But maybe FA Racing G2 likes that lighter fuel load.
And that's the thing now, Jake. We are into the second half of the motor race. And that means that if we're to put it in terms of equal proportion, there'll be about 45 kilos worth of fuel left in the tank. And that will change a lot. Let's not forget, in terms of an actual racer would weigh about the same as, well, less even than the amount of fuel in the tank. So it's almost like taking a second passenger out the car over the course of the event. And that changes the setup on these things completely, especially when you consider these things only weigh 650 kilos.
Yeah, it certainly does, and the way that you go and the way you attack is 2 different things. As Jamie Fluke on the alternative strategy goes to the outside of David Williams into turn number 1. Just about gets the move done there. No real harm or foul, but David Williams could try and get the attack back through this next left-hander. Little wiggle there from Jamie Fluke as he looks to get himself back going. And look at this. David Williams will look to try and make that attack, but he's not close enough on the older tyres, and that's going to really hamper him in terms of what he needs to do. But you are right, Will, in the sense that when you have that fuel, when you are losing fuel, that car becomes lighter. When you take an extra passenger basically out of that machine, you're able to usurp more out of it. Sometimes the start of the race is like driving a boat. Now you're driving a little bit of a speedboat and you've got a nice motor on the back.
Yeah, 21 laps now into a stint. So this is a point where they pitted Martin Kroenke, Mitchell de Jong, that last time by. Gregor Huttu, of course, came in 1 lap earlier. So this is what I predicted, that they are eking out this second stint a little bit more, as I say that. Marcus Jensen on towards pit road for stop number 2. So Marcus Jensen, the first to blink this second time around in terms of your main runners inside your top 5, Johnny.
Yep, so hopefully he doesn't miss his pit stall this time around. He was very cautious, though. Had to make a second little adjustment there. Quick pit stop, though, for Marcus Jensen. I think my timing screen's starting to screw up a little bit because it's showing the pit stop as 0.9 of a second. I don't think that's true, but it was very quick.
4.8. Overall time, 20.3. But into comparison, that was faster than what Gregor Huttu did on his first pit stop. And now more and more I think about it, actually, Johnny. Huttu's first pit stop was very slow in terms of big scale. It's 20.4, and that's not what we expect from a 5-time champion.
Yeah, I'm not sure what went wrong there, whether he missed his marks, because that's very important as well, and that can take time off your pit stop as a driver. But remember, he lost the position to Marcus Jensen. That we thought he had it because Jensen made the mistake, but then Marcus fought back, the young Dane. Right now, though, hopefully Gregor doesn't make that mistake if he's aiming to undercut Mitchell de Jong. De Jong's in the pit lane.
Yep, so de Jong is in. So, I talked at the start of this broadcast, Jake, about sometimes if you're commander, you're going to have to use one driver to cover off the other, and that's exactly what they've done. They brought in de Jong a lap earlier here to cover off anything that Gregor Huttu might have done.
Yeah, we also see Martin Piatella down the lane as Ollie Pakala has already made his stop. So we are seeing vehicles in, and Mitchell de Jong had to make that stop. He'll be in, he'll be out, and he'll be behind Mac Backham. So he will have a very nice little bit of help then, as he's ahead of Kevin Ellis Jr., Antoine Higeland, and Sebastian Joe. So effectively clean air. Mitchell de Jong will be very happy with exactly where he has come out. Martin Piatella, on the other hand, very long stop. He's a mile behind Peter Berryman now.
He is, but his lane-to-lane time was exactly the same, actually, 19.7. So it all kind of ended up being around the same, but he's just ended up falling off the background a little bit. Let's turn our attention, though, back to your 2 leaders right now. Martin Kroenke, what is he going to do? Is he in a battle with his own teammate here that we're not too sure about? And is he going to come onto pit road? Yes, he is. Now, what does Gregor Huttu do? He comes in as well. So, Huttu on pit road, Kroenke on pit road. They both come in around the same time. Pivotal part of this motor race. Get into your box and keep it clean if you're Kroenke. And for Gregor Huttu, nicely in then for Martin Kroenke. Nicely in for Gregor Huttu. Out comes Kroenke. And it looks as though it's going to be status quo all the same. But we want to keep an eye out, though, on Mitchell de Jong versus Gregor Huttu. Huttu's coming out, and he is still behind Mitchell de Jong. And actually, he lost a little bit there as well. Almost on the grass there, Jake.
Almost on the grass. He has to be careful about that. But look at the time that Mitchell de Jong has saved on his stop. He's half the gap between himself and Martin Kroenke. He's brought himself back into this race. This one's not done, Will. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Mitchell de Jong's fighting for a title. He's no Rubens Barrichello.
No, he's not. He's Coanda 1, Coanda 2, Coanda 3 right now. Oh, the ball, the Coanda train we go. Although, of course, Matt Backham is still on board pit road, so let's end that hype very quickly there, Johnny.
Yeah, I know. We can't get too excited. Gregor's about to spoil the party for VRS Coanda SimSport. What's interesting to note, though, is last season, pitting 1 lap earlier than another driver wasn't that big of a deal. But right now, de Jong is going to be slower every single lap the rest of this race compared to Kroenke and Huttu, as now Mac Backham files his way into the pit lane. So de Jong right now, he's already lost 2/10, 3/10 almost as well in about 3/4 of a lap. He's got to look out for Gregor Huttu, who's got a lap fresh set of rubber. I can't speak English, something like that.
Michael Dinkel's also on pit road, by the way. Let's have a look on board with Michael Dinkel in the JCL Apex Racing UK machine as he comes in. Going to make that service. He's going to come out and away in 3.9 seconds. We've also had David Williams coming out of pit road as it stands. So let's then run you through your top 8 as it sounds in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series round number 1. Martin Kroenke leads by 1.5 seconds exactly over Mitchell de Jong. Gregor Huttu is now a further 1.7 seconds back from de Jong. So that gap has opened up between P2 and P3. Jamie Fluke continues to run in 4th place. He is, however, on the alternate 3-stop strategy. The same applies to Peter Berryman, to Apex Racing, taking a little bit of a different angle compared to some others. We've got ourselves Fluke in 4th, Marcus Jensen in 5th, Peter Berryman in 6th place, Martin Piatella in 7th, Frederick Rasmussen in 8th, Matt Backham in 9th. Running out your top 10 is Ollie Packard. We are stepping aside for a few moments here, ladies and gentlemen, on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live. Take your Racesport TV side by side. We'll be back in just one moment's time. Once again, photo finish here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerrick at the line. We are on the road to the 9th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500, and all season long here on Racebot TV, Friday Night Prime Time is proud to welcome the Verizon IndyCar Series to your homes. Catch it every Friday at 8 p.m. GMT as we are on the road to the month of May, and of course the greatest weekend in all of racing. Back here, of course, in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, Martin Kroenke continues to lead. Traffic coming into play. Now, let's talk about traffic a little bit. As he actually locks up there, does Martin Kroenke. His last pit stop time was 4.3 seconds. That's a big lock-up for him into the Center S. Rules have changed, of course, this year, Jake, in terms of the way lapped cars work.
Yeah, that's very, very crucial. It's now the responsibility of the passing car to make an overtake, so they don't have to get out of the way, but you have to make sure that you get around, and Martin Kroenke almost showing how not to make that happen. That gap of 1.6 seconds, which he had extended over Mitchell de Jong, now comes down again. You can see Paul Ilbrink, very gentlemanly-like, the sole remaining Radicals Online machine. Very shocking to hear that. Now gets himself out of the way of not only de Jong, but Gregor Hutu as well, and Hutu all of a sudden looks like he could break through barriers at this stage as he's looking to try and get the DRS back with Mitchell de Jong.
Yeah, and this traffic is going to be crucial, I think, to help them on that As don't forget, live timing and scoring is available at racesport.tv/timing. Keep up to date with all the strategies of what has been a fascinating race here today. We've got drivers on a free-slot strategy. I'm going to run through them for you. Jamie Flug currently scored in P number 4. Peter Berriman currently scored in P number 8. Tommy Osgard currently scored in P number 14. And then we've got ourselves Ricardo Orozco, P number 19. Yao Vaz, P number 21. These are all drivers in that free-slot strategy, along with Alex Simpson as well. It's a very interesting one, because basically it's Apex Racing UK, Johnny, who's done the free-slot strategy, and it's been to various degrees of successes. We're not really going to know until the final lap of the race how successful it is, but we know Apex Racing UK traditionally are very fast in a straight line.
Yep, they are. I want to talk about that in a second, because I'm looking at Freddie Rasmussen. It goes deep around the outside into turn 4. That could be move of the season. He's still alongside Marty Piatella here. They're going to go. Oh! Whoa! Huge contact.
And he's going to just about avoid coming back on track. Freddie Rasmussen then, how much damage is there to that race car? We have been waiting for a big crash as Sebastian Job goes past. We've got ourselves Tommy Osgard. David Williams almost going to come past. That is Tommy Osgard going to go past. How much damage is there to Freddie Rasmussen's car? Let's get ourselves a second look at that. As it was, you were right. And we're going to rewind this from the absolute start of the lap. Here we are, side by side in the center S. Freddie Rasmussen, side by side through turn number 2. Side by side through the curve of the Sol. Falls back a little bit. We go on board of him now to show you what's going on. As on board, outside line, bold move there. That was almost like Ryan Hunter-Ray at Indy 500 when he was onto the grass. They stayed side by side then on the run down into Ferradura, and then unfortunate circumstances happen. It's a huge shame, absolute huge shame in terms of both those drivers' races, Jake, because, I mean, as we talked and documented the successes, the difficulties that Sebastian Job's been having today, but now it's Freddie Rasmussen. He's going to come worse off.
Yeah, and Freddie Rasmussen, you can argue he was fighting hard for that position, and he was, but by the same point, he did come off of that curb, which you naturally do, and Marty Piatella was only ever going to give him racing room in a little bit more. Incidents like that, yes, they do happen, but it's not the sort of incident that is liked. But I have to say that in terms of cause and effect, that incident is a lot more dramatic than what it should be. Gap at the front, though, is down to 1.3 seconds as Martin Kroenke lost a tenth, if not 2 tenths, on that last lap.
Yeah, and Kroenke's been struggling a little bit in traffic, and this is one of the things that anyone who's a long-time viewer of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series will know, and this ties into what we were talking about a couple of moments ago, Johnny, is that these cars are designed to run in clean air. They are fantastic running in clean air, and actually sometimes, you know, it is impossible for them to pass another driver because they are designed and set up to only run in clean air. The new lapped traffic rules that have existed from this season have basically meant that the teams like Command Sim Sports, like Team Redline, who's taken this setup approach over the years, they've now got to work for this lap traffic, and it's going to be a lot harder for them than in years previous.
There were a few things that stressed me out when I drove. One of them was drivers who were faster than me. And the other one was dirty air. And there's a whole lot more on that list. But dirty air is just, it's abysmal. You turn into a corner, you look at your watch, and after a few hours, you're finally on the other end of the apex. So I'll tell you what, like, look, it is what it is. You got to deal with it. It's a skill to avoid dirty air, but there is a lot you can do with the setup as well to compensate for the dirty air effect. By the way, Will, I have to say, I did not come into round number 1 this season in 2018 expecting, with only 16 laps to go, out top 3 to be separated by less than 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating first round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Don't forget, of course, you can check out the Sim Racing Observer, find out news, articles, recaps from this race. Will also, of course, be on the iRacing website. And, of course, check out the Simone Racing Report in terms of podcasts and interviews with drivers. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of breaking down of what has happened in what has been a really interesting first round of the championship day, because we haven't seen too much overtaking, so to say. We've had overtakes, of course, and there's been enough of it, but it's been a real good thinking race, and I love a good thinking race.
It has been a thinking race. It's been a game strategy. How do I get to X position, Y position, as Gregor Hutu again closes down that gap, brings it to 0.4 of a second, may have an opportunity to battle into turn number 4 at the Interlagos. But it has been the race where you've had to play the strategy game. You've had to start thinking about, okay, how do I now attack the rest of this race? How do I go out there and make that move? How do I play my strategy card on an opening round, which has been fascinating, as Interlagos normally has, and there's only one wish I have for this Interlagos circuit in this iRacing Championship, Will. I wish it was the last round instead of the first.
Yes. Yes. Is that clock? Is that clock? We've got Martin here, Tanner, Kevin Ellis Jr. I will say one thing. Oh my God, Jamie Fluke then. He's just going to turn around the driver on Marty Piatella. That one got very messy very, very quickly, as I believe Sebastian Joe was involved in that one as well. Replay coming up for you on your screen. A lot of things went wrong, all in very quick succession. So let's have a look first at Sebastian Joe. And did he just get caught up as the drivers? Yes, he did. Oh my word. I don't think I've seen anyone come that close to the barrier at the curve of the soul and survive without hitting it. What was it, 2003, the race that Giancarlo Fisichella won? How he managed to do that, I absolutely have no idea. But of course, we've also had a big incident as well then. That was down around, which was that Marty Piatella, the number 96 machine involved in that one, Jake. And that all just went very weird, very, very quickly.
Well, the gap was open. He was trying to take that alternative line, try and shut down the corner, and Jamie Fluke was left almost with nowhere to go on the inside, had his nose poked in, and, well, I don't think the spotter would have given the call there to Marty Piatella. The contact happened, spread eagle across the circuit he goes, and just like that, Sebastian Joe is a very lucky lad to still be in this race. And once again, another instant where there's not much in it between the two drivers, but very drastic was the consequences of a very small error.
Just had to look at that replay again, Johnny, on board Sebastian Joe. And I mean, I seriously do mean it. I mean, what, 2000? I think it was 2003, the race that was in the pouring rain, and the entire field crashed down at the curve of the soul. That's the closest I've seen anyone get to that tyre barrier without hitting it.
Yeah, that 03 race was memorable. Look, I'm not sure if Sebastian practiced that, but it looked smooth, and it looked like he'd done that before somewhere. But just the confidence. Hutu.
We need to talk about Gregor Hutu right now, because he is within 0.2 of a second on Mitchell de Jong. This goes back to what you've been saying, Johnny, that every single lap from now on, Gregor Hutu has the ability to close down. He knows he's on fresher tyres, even though it's one lap. One lap does make a huge difference in the context of the race here today, and all of a sudden, Hutu is Predator mode.
Yeah, you're right. We talked about that in the ad break, how, you know, when I was a driver, I used to always pit a lap after the rival I was trying to pass, because then for the rest of the race, I'm going to have that extra pace lap after lap. And here we go. Hutu's reeled in Mitchell de Jong. We don't know if Kroenke's saving tires or if he's just struggling in this final stint, but man, this race is on. Let's go. This is 3 of the best drivers on this grid in your top 3 positions. You could not write a script, and I'm not trying to sound cliched, I hate saying this, but this is as perfect a script as it can get.
Yeah, I completely agree. And of course, how fitting would it be there, Jake, if Gregor Hutu does even find a way past Mitchell de Jong, but cannot get it. Here he is down to the inside. Here comes Gregor Hutu. Oh my word, that was a close one there. Hutu, twitchy, turn number 1. I don't know the last time I've seen Gregor Hutu make a pass that bold, or an attempt at a pass that bold, but I tell you what, I'm going to give huge props to Gregor Hutu for that one, because it was bold, it was crazy, but that's a Gregor Hutu I want to see.
That was a driver caught in between two minds, because he saw that Mitchell de Jong was slowing up on the straight. He wasn't using the ERS. The red light on the back of his rear diffuser was flashing. So that was the idea, that Mitchell de Jong was now slowing down. Hutu wanted to take advantage of that. He was maybe a little bit too far back, down to the inside. He was putting his vehicle inside, and then suddenly Mitchell de Jong started shutting the door on him. Gregor Hutu nowhere to go, had to back out of it, had to go sideways, and Gregor Hutu survives for another day. away, but at what cost to the chance for the race victory? Because Martin Kroenke will be reveling in the mirrors that Mitchell de Jong and Gregor Houtu are having an almighty fisticuffs.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I mean, how ironic is it going to be that Gregor Houtu is going to come home if he did come home in second place, when Martin Kroenke takes away one of the things that has symbolised Gregor Houtu for so many years in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And we got to say, at this point, we are looking at 3 of the top 5 drivers to ever have raced in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series over its 9-year existence. Martin Kroenke, Mitchell de Jong, Gregor Houtu. Gregor Houtu, of course, the driver that started it all. The driver that dominated so often, so frequently. Mitchell de Jong, as we got, by the way, Ollie Packard and Antoine Hegelin, they're having themselves a battle as well going on right now. We go on board with Ollie Packard. You got yourself Mitchell de Jong. He's the new guy that's come through the last couple of years. And of course, Martin Kroenke, the driver whose development has really been an inspiration to any sim racer, to show that if you really do dream, you really do try hard, you can make it to the top of the game. I think if you're going to add 2 more drivers into that, you can add Jussi Nieminen and maybe Hugo Luis in. Ati Kirchhoff maybe as a 6th there, Johnny.
Yep, I like that. I have no real arguments there. Mitchell de Jong, don't forget as well, real life, outside of the virtual world, he's in the Red Bull Global Rallycross Series, which is also available on iRacing 2, and a World Championship for that series will be coming in a few months' time. So hopefully we see Mitchell out there in the virtual world too, not just the real world. But yeah, great talent on offer. There's Ollie Packard now still getting closer and closer to Anton Hegelin. Anton Hegelin, by the way, started 22nd, still having a great race, up in the P6 right now. I have to say one thing though, the Coanda SimSport culture, that's something that's so underrated. Look at how it's transformed Mac Backham. Maybe not today is the best example, but just into this consistent, great racecraft guy, today excluded, and he's become better. So here's Ollie Packard though, DRS engaged, and possibly a move up the inside.
He thinks about it. Typical Team Redline downforce levels there, Jake, is basically all I can say there.
Yeah, you can, because they haven't been able to really make those moves, and they've wanted to, and it hasn't quite happened. There's also just behind that the battle for 11th, 12th, 13th, David Williams, Sebastian Joe, Michael Dinkel in this 3-car train. And I think that we've been seeing it. Certain teams have got downforce levels. They want to attack different areas of the circuit. I think Redline finds its pace in the middle half of the circuit because they want to make sure that they've got all the grip that's there. They're not going to make a silly mistake, and then they can go and try and run away from the front. I think that's where Redline have started to struggle, and that's where I think, Will, they need to change the ethos of how their downforce works, because they're not in a position where they're dominating. They haven't been for the last 2 years, and they need to go now for low downforce setups, Will, so that they can actually start thinking about making overtakes.
Yes, I completely agree. And again, the whole thing about lap traffic, I think, is going to become a huge part of that over the next few races. I think we're going to see that change and mold around that one. Look at that Team Redline though. I mean, this is one thing. Greek Shorehorse, P number 21, car number 21. In some ways, it's always ironic here, Johnny, but you know, we've documented a couple of drivers here today who have fallen short of our expectations in terms of what we expect of them. And when we say this, we build people up for a reason, because they are fantastic sim racers. Great Shorehorse is one of those drivers. He just hasn't delivered here today.
I don't know what's going on with Shorehorse. And this will be his worst finish of his career. Last year, his rookie season, had a couple of podiums to his name, was pretty impressive. I don't know what's going on. And look, I'm just going to say we shrug it off. It's one round. Maybe he hasn't practiced much. That's always the first answer you look for. Maybe this new update, because the updates to these tires and these cars, these drivers, the first initial updates have only had like 1 or 2 weeks for it. But after that, the second update that came in, maybe Shorehorse hasn't had enough time to prepare, and only a few days. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and see how he fares at round 2 at Sebring.
Can I just say one thing, by the way? And we never say this, but Dave Kramer, cheers. I think this is what the most interesting first round of the World Championship Series we've had in 2 years. Of course, we had the new car, Jake, the last time around.
Yeah.
And of course, we've now got ourselves a situation where I think this has really made the series so interesting. And if you are a true race car fan, you don't worry about the fact that you've not got full wide action every single corner of a race. This is the racing I love so much.
And well, you can definitely argue that Melbourne will have a lot to live up to in a week's time. That much I can say for certain. Gregor Houtu knows that he wants to make things happen. He's still in the hunt here with a little under 8 laps to go. Looking for the inside, not happening through turn number 1. Set the run up through 2 then, Gregor. You need to think about making this move sooner rather than later. You've lost the chance for a victory with Martin Kroenke, unless you see the robot in front of you make a mistake. But now Mitchell de Jong does enough. He holds him up. He gets himself just enough of a gap to hold himself away, and Mitchell de Jong for another lap is safe, Will, and he will keep doing that until lap 71 comes up on the board.
Yes, indeed, and we are closing down the laps here today. 8 to go in round number 1 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. I was just thinking another thing in my head here, John. I mean, you and I, we've talked about this series for so many years, and well, I'm so glad there's no more white, red, and black cars apart from Radicals Online, and actually people's got dynamic. I mean, that's it. That Team Redline livery, I think, is the best I've ever seen. The Commander livery, I mean, they've made purple and orange something that works together.
Yeah, I know. I think blue and orange is the one that I just never seem to get working well. Even the FA Racing G2 livery, some people aren't fans of it. I like it. I think it's great. Some teams have maintained their liveries from last season. We look at Apex Racing UK and Orion as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, all in all, great job by designers. Maybe it was designed by all the people that created the RaceBot TV graphics.
Well, we know the Commander Sim Sports one was, the Commander Sim Sports one definitely was. Worth noting as well, I mean, the Orion Racing livery here, Jake, I mean, I think it's one of those things that and the Radicals Online one, they're 2 liveries that I will never be able to get out of my head. You see it and you immediately associate with it. Now, the new livery, of course, from Redline, you know, it kind of tweak over what their classic design is. Commander's got itself. I just love the fact that we're getting so personal now in terms of teams, and I honestly hated it when 22 of the 35 cars were all red, white, and blue a couple of years ago.
Yeah, you are right, and I think that we're starting to see colour schemes come into play. We're starting to see these teams all want to start thinking about how do we now go forward and how do we make things happen. Tell you something, a driver who wants to make things happen in the late stage of this event, Will, it's Peter Berryman. He's got a train in front of him. It's certain Michael Dinkel, certain Sebastian Job, certain David Williams. If he gets through all 3 of them, I think he could even be on for a charge here to try and take away Freddie Rasmussen's position number 10, but he's got to get through all 3 of these vehicles, Will, in the next, 2-3 laps or so?
Yep, let's go on board with Peter Berryman, actually. Give you a little bit of RaceBot TV fan immersion. Well, he's got 1. Only 2 more to go, Jake.
Only 2 more to go, so he's just got to make sure that he makes those moves quicker. In front of that, though, battle for P4 suddenly ignited.
Yeah.
Matt Backham's found Marcus Jensen.
Hello. And I want to say one thing as well. Marcus Jensen, Burst Esport, 4th place. A team that we didn't even think or talk about, John. We didn't even talk about in your podcast, for Christ's sake. And all of a sudden, P number 4. I mean, let's give Marcus Jensen a huge amount of credit here.
Are you surprised, though,
No.
with this performance from Jensen?
No.
Look, I think even in Apex colors, we expected this from Marcus. Like, one of the youngest drivers on the grid, 17 years of age, and top 4 in a world championship event. Now, we know the likes of Bono Haas, who unfortunately isn't racing this year, was a world champion in many other series at such a young age, but it's, in terms of other sims like that. But Jensen at iRacing, with the competitive level that sim racing is at the moment, with the amount of talent we have, it's a lot harder to do it in this era. And right now, I won't give him too much credit because he's going to maintain P4 ahead of Mad Mac Backham.
Yeah, and this is going to be a fantastic battle then to round off 5 laps to go in the first round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, Jake. And well, we've had everything here today, and I tell you one thing, I really enjoyed being a part of this series once again. And sometimes there are people that say the McLaren MP430 is not the car to be for the World Championship Series in open wheels. I think we just had a statement saying otherwise.
Yeah, I think anybody who wants to say that IndyCar needs to be the top championship is wrong, and very blatantly wrong, as you see Matt Backham again close that gap down to 0.2 of a second in towards turn number 1. This is the excitement. This is what you get passionate for. This is what everyone has been racing hard to see happen over the course of the racing that we've had over the last 3-5 years. Let's go back 9 years. Let's talk about the Williams FW31 era as well. In towards the Desquita de Largo. No opportunities for Matt Backham. You see that this series, Will, is so pivotal. It is the place to go. It is the place to see the greatest drivers in the world. And there is a reason why Martin Kroenke has such a mystique about him. It's because he races here and only here, and he wins here and only here.
And again, that's one of the things that we've got to talk about as well, is the fact that, you know, a lot of teams have diversitized over the couple of years. I mean, there's a couple of teams that we expected to be in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series that, because of the fact they diversitized too much, aren't here. And this has been one of the fascinating things about the off-season. And this is why I really like the fact that we've got an essential privateer here, Johnny, in P number 4. And yeah, Backham is hounding him right now as they come towards 2 to go. But this is great. As here comes Backham, he's looking down to the inside. Here we go then, Matt Backham. Hello, welcome to P number 4. Can he make the move stick? Yes, he can.
Yeah, nice move from Backham. He actually engaged DRS twice there. Maybe hit the brake pedal by accident or just hit the button twice, but straight through for him right there. He's up in the P4, and 3 Coanda cars in your top 4 positions. Has to be a good day for them, but hey, Backham's going to have to talk to the stewards after this race. He's been involved in quite a bit of incidents.
Yeah, he has, but still P number 4. A P number 4 will stick. He might end up having to start from pit road at a race down the line. It's not our job to judge, of course. I'm going to give a shout out to the team over at iRacing for the management that they do to bring these World Championship Series to life as well. We're down to 2.5 laps to go. And I think it's time here, Jake, that we start talking. 2 laps to go. Let's talk about this guy making history, Martin Kroenke.
Not just yet, because we got Gregor Hutu again tucked up in underneath of Mitchell de Jong. And yes, Martin Kroenke has controlled the race in the front in the way that only Martin Kroenke can. But he's had so much help from this driver in the number 24 machine, Mitchell de Jong, who has been holding Gregor Hutu off at bay. And remember that Gregor Hutu has 1 lap fresher tyres, and that's something that is very difficult to do. Keep the man behind you when he's got the advantage. So Mitchell de Jong, the difference that last time by was only a few hundredths of a second, so Gregor Hutu knows that he can attack, and he has a little look there into the Laranjina for an opportunity. It doesn't pay off, though. He is probing for information, and Gregor Hutu, words of James Allen, desperation starts to kick in.
Where's Timo Glock when you need him? We've got ourselves a lap and a few corners to go. Through Mugello they come then. For the penultimate time into Yunsal, they come for the final time for Gregor Hutu. You're right, desperation mode is kicking in, and he gets a bad run out of Yunsal. What can this Team Redline car do as they come towards the white flag? 1 more lap in round number 1 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Here comes Hutu down to the inside, and he does it again. He pushes wide. De Jong versus Hutu, and while they're going ding-dong at it right now, and De Jong's going to lose out as a consequence. Replay coming up from our aerial coverage, because that was mighty close. But yeah, it is going to be Hutu now, who is up into P number 2. There they are, side by side, into the center S. They make contact there through turn number 1. They almost make contact again. They do make contact into turn number 2, into the curve of the soul. Well, it's a bit of game over there for Mitchell de Jong. I guarantee he is going to be unhappy about that. And how fitting is it that Gregor Hutu is going to be in second place as we turn our attention over to Martin Kroenke. We barely talked about him over the last 30 laps here in the first round of the World Championship Grand Prix Series, but he's basically back where he was throughout the entirety of the 2017 season, where he was at the end of the 2016 season. Martin Kroenke is making history here. Win streak, Kroenke, let's go here. Martin Kroenke is your winner. Round number 1 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. VRS Kayana Sim Sport win again, 14 in a row for Martin Kroenke. And I'm going to bring back a phrase from Silverstone a couple of years ago here, Johnny. Have you ever? Have you ever indeed?
No, what a race. What a finish to the first round of 2018. I can't believe he's actually done it. He's tied Gregor Hutu's record of 14 race wins, as Will said, and continuing possibly into future rounds. But to see how close the competition came with Hutu and de Jong behind, only 5 seconds behind our world champion, our two-time champion, Martin Kroenke, in the end, it was a thrilling race.
This is what sim racing is all about. You've got 2 drivers in 1 camera shot right now. Possibly the 2 greatest drivers ever in the history of open wheel racing in sim racing. You've got Gregor Hutu, who has for so many years been that dominant driver, all the way from Grand Prix Legends, all the way through iRacing, the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And he now has an equal. And Jake, that equal is Martin Kroenke.
And we've been seeing it for such a while, how Martin Kroenke is the equal, but that's only in 1 category you judge. There are more categories that you can give to Martin Kroenke that he needs to chase down. For example, most amount of career race victories needs to be closed down in. You talk about, for example, the likes of actually beating Gregor Hutu's record of consecutive victories. And there's the small matter of fact of he's still got to win 3 more iRacing championships, Will. So you look at Martin Kroenke, he's far from done yet, and he knows that he is far from done right now. And I will say something, his 100% record, for instance, that's a 0x race here today.
And you know what? That's the sort of stuff that makes a true champion a champion. 14 race wins in a row for Martin Kroenke. Note the date, the 17th of March, 2018, when the record was matched. And we've now set it up for round number 2 of the championship, because records now can be beaten. Let's have a look at your final race results then from the first round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And Martin Kroenke winning by 5.2 seconds at the end. He did a Martin Kroenke. He pulled out at the end. I mean, release the Kroenke. Indeed. Hi, Rachel. How's it going? 5.2 second advantage over Gregor Hutu. Mitchell de Jong, 3rd place. Of course, he will be disappointed with the fact there was contact involved in that to avoid a Commander 1-2. Gregor Hutu, very bold, last lap of the motor race. Hutu can only manage 2nd. Mitchell de Jong, though, does come home in P number 3. Matt Backham makes it a Commander 1-3-4 here today. Marcus Jensen, he's just had an amazing drive coming home in P number 5. Then you've got yourself Jamie Fluke in P number 6. Antoine Heglin deserves so much credit here today. He comes home in P number 7. Ollie Pakula in 8th place. Kevin Ellis Jr. He has been racing with illness here today. Started 7th, come home in 9th. Great job still by him. And Freddie Rasmussen then coming in P number 10. We, of course, saw the incident with him earlier on. We go back, and there are positions 11 through 20. You've got Peter Berriman, David Williams, Michael Dinkel, Martin Piatella, and Tommy Oscar that rounds out your top 15. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more after this. cheer of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerit at the line. Round number 1 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and well, we've matched it. Since 2010, it had been Gregor Hutu who had the most number of wins in a row at 14. Today, we've got 2 people from that club. Martin Cronkey, he gets himself into one of the most illustrious clubs in history. 14 race wins in a row. Martin Cronkey, congratulations.
Oh, hello. Thank you very much.
I mean, we're hyped right now. I mean, I think this is one of these things that you only get the chance to do so often as a broadcaster, to congratulate someone for winning 14 rounds of a the top level open wheel series in the world. What's going through your head right now?
Well, just being extremely happy. Honestly, not that much more, to be honest.
Race itself, I mean, it's very different from 2017. You did the 2-stop strategy. There was the fact that you're kind of running out front. The benefit to you there, that it didn't hurt the tyre life so much, and how different has the racing been to this time last year?
Well, it is quite different. You have to take care of the tires a lot more since they just wear down a lot, and it seems like as soon as you slide a little bit and overheat them or do any other non-ideal thing, they punish you the next 3-4 corners for that. So being in clean air is extremely helpful, because at the end of the day, if you're in dirty air, you will most likely do quite a bit of front downforce, not as much rear downforce, and your front tires will be quite bad after a couple laps. So that was definitely a good thing. I guess if I wasn't running in clean air, maybe a 3-stop would have been an option, but yeah.
Well, first win of the season in the books. Of course, 2018, you've now matched the record. I mean, we were talking about this at the start of the broadcast, that one of the biggest aims for you for this year is to have the 0 ink races. Which is more important to you, the 0 ink races or 15 in a row?
Well, a win is always worth more than having a 0 incident race, so going for the win still.
Yep. So next time out, can you make it 15 in a row? Can you get the record?
Well, ask me in 2 weeks. I don't know. We'll see.
You've never given anything away to us, Martin. Of course, give some shout outs to Sim Sports and the guys that make it happen for you.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank all my teammates, especially the spotters that have been doing an amazing job today. Then also a huge thanks to our sponsors. First of all, to Virtual Racing School, to Huizinveld, to N1 Design, SimQuip, to Joel Real Timing, and also a good thank you to you guys for providing a good broadcast.
Well, thank you very much. And Martin Kroenke coming home with a race victory here today. And I want to talk about this a little bit, Johnny. As I say, as a broadcaster, as a commentator, it's not very often we get to talk about 14 in a row. We don't get to talk about records like this. October 2016 to now, no one has beaten Martin Kroenke. It's like Oscar in WWE. It's like anything else. I mean, this is one of those things that I'm just beaming for ear to ear. It's happened.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it either. I mean, I'm just trying to remember the last time a driver other than Kroenke or Hutu won a race. It was Joni Tormala, probably, if I recall correctly.
Oh, it's like India. Yeah, it's Joni Tormala first race in the this car.
Yeah. Oh, and not only that, but then he won at Road America 2016, and then I think that was the last time someone other than the two big champions ended up winning a race. You say, I mean, Mitchell was 2015, I think, his last win. I might be slapped across the face. I'm wrong with that, but that is incredible, and it goes to show that it's just like the sheer dominance, the sheer focus that these guys have. And I think that's what sets these guys apart from everybody else, because when you study their telemetry and all that, it's something that's not really visual that you see in terms of how quick they are. It's just how they're able to string together lap after lap so consistently and so quick. It's just incredible. So, look, anyway, enough talking good about them. We're probably going to do that for the rest of the season with Kroenke now heading on to it and the 27 race win streak or whatever he could get up to.
Yeah, we're gonna continue to talk about this and the streak. But first of all, we've got Jake Speyer. He stood by with Gregor Huti.
Gregor, a very difficult race in some respects, but a fantastic recovery drive in some others. But I want to just give it to you first and foremost. What a fantastic scrap you had with Mitchell de Jong coming to the end.
Yeah, was a really fun race. I think the different strategies and stuff really spiced up the race. So yeah, was kind of fun to race for a change instead of doing those long stints, one-stop races all the time. So yeah, definitely enjoyed it.
Let's go back to the start of the event, because something very striking happened off the line. It's the fact that Red Line bogged down, and we also saw a bit of FA Racing G2 bogged down off the start as well. What do you have to explain for yourself in terms of the bad start today?
Just have to do a better job at it, I guess. I was expecting to get a better start actually, so was a bit disappointed to lose a couple of spots again. So, and yeah, then got stuck in that famous DRS train again, so that kind of cost me the race, I guess.
Well, this race is written in the books, but Sebring, you have a record that has been tied to you. You now have a record you need to defend with pretty much every single bone in your body, I would have thought. Sebring looked pretty good for you last season. Do you think that you can find yourself in a position to attack Sebring this season?
I think it's Phillip Island next, but yeah, not sure. It's only 2 weeks between the races, so yeah, it's gonna be tricky to prepare and get everything out of the car. But at least on race pace, we looked pretty good here. So yeah, hoping to go one step higher on the podium in the next race.
Well, that is no worries at all. It may be that I have completely forgotten about a race, and I wouldn't put it past me with my memory. But Gregor Hutu, before we let you go, any shout-outs or sponsors to give, of course, to your team at Team Redline?
Yeah, thanks to my teammates, first of all. We did a pretty good preparation for this race, so hopefully we can keep it up for the remainder of the season, throughout the summer especially. I know that's going to be tough, but yeah, let's see. And as always, thanks to Fanatec, SimLab, and Feel as well. So yeah, thanks to all those guys.
Living legend Gregor Hutu coming home in position number 2, and in some stages, Will, turning back the clock.
Yeah, kudos to Gregor Hutu there, P number 2 here today. Run number 1 of the 2018 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And well, Johnny, I mean, again, on one hand, you've got yourself, Martin Kroenke. He's got 14 in a row. Hutu's got 14 in a row, and it's kind of really, in my eyes, iconic the fact that Hutu was still second place here today.
Yeah, and he just earned it, didn't he, in the closing stages. He had a moment, I don't know if it was 5 or 10 laps earlier, where he had a possible move at De Jong at the center S as well, and it just went away from him. But then he earned it again on that last lap, and we'll talk to Mitchell in a second about that, but that was a thrilling move.
And Jake, in terms of like the storyline for 2018, yes, it is still the Kroenke Hutu show, but at the same time, it's been fascinating here today, the fact that we've talked about 4, 5, 6 different drivers who had a stab at the podium here.
We did, and I think this is pretty much what we'd call evidence, Will, that this series is getting stronger and stronger. And whilst, yes, the same names are at the front and are winning at the front, the difference is, though, those gaps are coming in and they are getting a lot closer. So it's becoming more of a challenge for drivers like Martin Kroenke and Gregor Hutu to continue on this run because of the fact that you've got Mitchell de Jong, you've got Marcus Jensen, you've got Mac Backham, Kevin Ellis Jr., very, very crucially here today, who can all go out there and challenge at any given point in time. And let's not forget all the other 10, 15 drivers who out through the season have a legitimate shot of winning. I'll say that the top 20 were split by about half of a second in qualifying. That shows you how difficult this series is.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating first round of the championship. I want to talk about Kevin Ellis Jr. actually a little bit more in a couple of moments. We haven't actually got the chance to interview him. We have, however, got the chance to interview third place driver. That is Mitchell de Jong, and he is stood by with Jonathan Simon.
Thanks, Will. Here with one of the youngest, most promising prospects in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and what Will Vincent tipped, one of the top 5 drivers of all time, Mitchell de Jong. How was that race, Mitchell? Describe the last lap battle. That was the one where it just got away from you in the end, that second position.
Oh, well, first, thanks for the kind words. It was an interesting race. It was quite a warm track that we had, so my goal kind of with all the stints was to really take care of the tires and make sure I could get to the end without being surprised by any sudden tire cliffs. And I think I lost a bit much kind of at the beginning of all the stints, just kind of doing that. Maybe it wasn't quite worth it as much as I was trying to manage, but at least we didn't have any sudden surprises or have any issues at the end of it. After that, just tried to nail all my stops correctly and min-max as much as I can around the track. And towards the end, everything was looking good. After I noticed that Gregor was getting quite close, I started really trying to basically build up my ERS for an attack, and it came kind of when I expected it, but it was pretty far back, so I just didn't expect a move to happen. And it was a bit of a difficult one for sure. Was really close to going wrong for both of us, so but still on the podium, I can't complain so much.
No, you can't. It's a good result in the end. What I'm fascinated is with, 43-degree track temps. Everyone was saying, oh, this is going to be a 4-stop race, and it's going to be, not saying it was going to be any more than that, but I felt that the track rubbering in with 40 drivers out there, well, just under 40. Did that help the tire degradation a little bit? Did that help you guys manage the tires out there on the racetrack with so many cars out there at once?
Yeah, I guess so. Certainly that does make a big difference. I don't really know to the extent that it helped. I actually wasn't paying too much attention to my times while I was driving, just trying to feel and wait for a big cliff to come with the tires, and fortunately it was pretty linear with how they were falling off. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's something that I think we need to go back, take a look at, and revise things for next race. Obviously you can't beat actual race time for testing things, so it'll be interesting for the following rounds.
And the new ERS changes, did they affect you at all too much?
I actually quite like it. It lets you make kind of just minor adjustments with, you just drive and just make adjustments based on kind of what other cars around you are doing. So, yeah, just lets you focus on driving. You don't have to press buttons or do anything like that anymore. So, for me, I quite like that a lot. It's easier just to jump in and drive, which is what I love doing. So, I think it's good.
And bonus question, I don't normally do this, but bonus question. Surely you had some fun out there, regardless of that last lap pass.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you're not too far away from Martin and you're still fighting for a podium and in this competitive of a series, that's always a good day.
There you go, Will. Mitchell de Jong, who you actually tipped, Will. I'm going to hang you out to dry here in a good way. Top 5 driver of all time in this series.
I think over the last couple of years, he's overtaken Atsi Kirchhoff.
Yeah, that's it. When was the last time I'd say race? What was that? 2015, I think. Not even.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to give credit to Atsi Kirchhoff as well. I mean, he has been one of the greatest drivers in the history of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And I say, I'm going to be blatantly honest about it. Gregor Hutu, Martin Kroenke, you put them at the very top of the ladder. Then you've got yourself Atsi Kirchhoff, Mitchell de Jong, Jussi Niemann, Hugo Ruiz. Sorry, Ben Cornette. I love you to pieces, but you don't make the list.
I don't even make. Would he?
What's that phrase again? I tell you what, he's better than that. I tell you one thing, Ben Cornette is better than that. I refuse to use that phraseology to describe him. But yeah, thanks, Mitchell. Great talking to you. Actually, great seeing you over in California last year.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to meet you, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Definitely. Got to catch up with Mitchell de Jong in a nice long endurance kart race in Fontana a couple of months ago. And well, and Jake, this is one of the things we're going to be writing about in 2018, of course, the people that make it to the top of the mountain. And it's really interesting to note, for example, that, you talk about the likes of Hugo Ruiz, and he knew when it was his time to stop. And I'm wondering, that whole thing, did Bono House just realize it was just the World Championship Series was not for him at all, 2018. I know he's had issues with his McLaren. Bono House, we could have been talking about him in 5 years as being one of those drivers. I've got the likes of Sebastian Job in my list. I've got the likes of Freddie Rasmussen in my list. I've got the likes of Rogers in my list. For example, people who I think that over the next 5 years are going to be the best sim racers on open wheel racing in the world.
I think with Bono House, and I had an opportunity to talk with him just a few days before the start of the season, and Bono House did not want to attack this MP430 if he didn't have 100% confidence that could do so. And I'm not sure that Bono House did. So he's decided to step back for this season. He has no effort in VRS GT, and he has said very explicitly to me, my goal for this season is to attack the hybrids, the LMP1s. He wants to attack the Audi and Porsche. I think that we're going to see Redline now on the World Tour events really look to try and make a presence. And I think that for Bono House's initiative, I think he wants to go out there and win World Tour events. I think that his biggest challenge for this year, and what I think the challenge will be for Redline this year, can they go out there and win the Le Mans 24 hours?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's going to be fascinating because I'm sure there's a couple of people over at Koala Sim Sports, at INX Racing, at FAG2 Racing, and Apex Racing, and Radicals Online who are all trying to say exactly the same thing. Want to give a shout out, of course, to Radicals Online, where I had the opportunity. They had a miserable day here today, of course, but they did win the iRacing 12 Hours of Sebring a week ago. So I know that things didn't go the way to plan, so to say, but we've got to give credit where credit's due. Congratulations to Radicals Online for that one. We've got Matt Backham here, coming home in P number 4 here today. And Mac, well, you've had an interesting race, haven't you?
Yeah, interesting is an understatement, I think. It was really tense. All the way through pretty much up until lap 70. Lots of things happening around me.
In retrospect, in hindsight, are you worried about any potential repercussions for anything that's happened on track today?
Not really. I mean, what happened? Not really anything I can do about it anymore. I sent Ollie a message, but I don't know. We didn't really get a contact. I haven't looked back at it that much, but I have to look back at it later.
And let's just talk about the race itself here today. It seemed to be, especially where you were running, is that as the tyres wore down, people were starting to just outbrake and almost unintentionally run into the back of other drivers. How hard was it for tyre management here today, and how hard is it running in close proximity to others?
Yeah, well, it was super difficult. Especially in the dirty air, you don't really notice it that much because you get a bit of understeer, and then once you get past someone and you have clean air, the car starts snapping a little bit. So that was, I think, the most difficult part of the race. But in the last stint, the car felt really good. I never had any issues. I think that was just down to the track being so rubbered in.
Yeah, and in terms of moving on, lessons learned, of course, the tyres, I say, have been a big thing here today. What can you take away from Interlagos that you put into the next round of the championship at Phillip Island?
Well, I'm just really glad I finished P4. I really thought I'd like to be in the podium, but I don't know if that was reasonable today, looking at how quick the top three was. But yeah, and I definitely need to do something about my qualifying pace. I think that's definitely what hurt me the most, starting in P9. So that's what I have to improve.
Matt Backham, he came home today in P number 4, and well, this is the Matt Backham. Jake, there's one or two drivers, and we're not going to name them, who have an element of we love seeing them race, but at the same time, we know that they are going to occasionally get into incidents. You know who I'm thinking about? We're not going to say it on air. Mac, he's one of these drivers. We love what he does in the World Championship Series. And just sometimes, I think he gets a bad rep in terms of kind of like the 50-50 incidents that we normally put to one side, and everyone goes back to the Matt Backham of 2012, 2013.
Yes, and I think it's very reminiscent of another Dutchman who we may or may not be able to name. But I think that with Mac, he's had 3 very high-profile incidents over the last 5 races or so. You talk about the incident he's had at Indianapolis, you talk about the incident he had at Suzuka, and you talk about the incident that he's had, and you think about the incident that he's had today here at Interlagos. And some drivers do have themselves an ability to get into incidents more than others. For example, you can talk about maybe Fabrice Cornelis at Vendaval is certainly another one of those drivers who does from time to time get involved in an incident here and there. It's about a certain style of driver. If you're willing to race that close to other drivers, you have to be prepared to bite back. And I think that certain drivers understand the consequences. I think that certain other drivers don't. And I think Mac Backham understands that. But I think that he does take it with a pinch of salt, and he does move out there, and actually he puts himself in a situation where he knows what he expects, and he goes for those moves that sometimes are 50-50 and sometimes even 30-70.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that's pretty underrated about that is, like, I don't know, as a driver, he's been put into a culture at Coanda where he's just learnt so much. When he went into that team, I don't know if it's changed, but when he went into that team, he was never known as the setup guru, the guy who's able to be so technical with the car. Probably still the same. But the point is that when you're around drivers like that, I notice you sort of steer into the same sort of the same sort of areas as them. When I've hung around very consistent drivers who practice race pace for 2 weeks before a race, I do the same, and I get better in terms of long run pace. Then when I'm around a bunch of hot lappers, well, you can see why I finished P35 in the season standings. It's a very easy to see this in terms of culture, and I think that Coanda culture right now is as good as any other team out there, and I think that's what's really helped Mac the most in terms of really just cleaning that diamond in the rough that he was.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't often give out Drive of the Day awards. I'm going to do so today. Marcus Jensen, P number 5. What a drive. Well done. Fantastic run. Talk us through it. I've made him speechless. Come on, Marcus. You can talk to us.
Thanks. It was a fairly good race. Quite interesting. If the first stint was quite good, but in the second stint, my tires were just absolutely terrible, and I just lost so much time. But the third stint was okay. Just couldn't keep Mac behind. But
Now, we classify as one of the quote-unquote privateer teams, because you're the only driver running the World Championship Grand Prix Series within the team that you're within. And it's been fascinating to watch you in this race, in that Burst Esport car. Of course, you moved away from Apex Racing UK. You joined a new team. You're in a different situation right now. How's the adjustment been over the last few months?
Well, it was quite a late change. So it was only about a week ago that I left Apex. So had to adjust a bit, and I was lucky enough to work with a few other drivers from the testing. So that helped a lot. So.
Was it in, I know I'm prying at this point, was it in your mind to leave Apex for a period of time, or was this just a kind of like last minute deal that came up for you?
Well, I had been talking with them for a while, but I wasn't quite sure until a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. So it was a late decision for me. So
you got yourself top 5 in the first round of the 2018 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. What lessons can you learn from here to take to the next round of the championship at Phillip Island?
Well, I think I have to work a bit on the setup, or we have to work a bit on the setup, because in the second stint it was just not too good. I definitely think there's a lot of room for improvement, so I think that's the main thing.
And again, you get my Driver of the Day award. I mean, I think you've had an absolutely fantastic race, and we've seen others kind of fall down around you, but you were able to stand up and finish inside the top 5. Burst Esport, many people don't know anything about this sim racing team. Shout out sponsors, who gets it done for you?
Yeah, I just want to thank the guys behind the scenes at Burst for giving me this opportunity. A lot of great things are to come, so really happy about it.
Marcus Jensen coming home P number 5 here today. All right, I'm going to give you the chance to challenge me. Driver of the Day, Johnny, you agree?
Marcus Jensen, driver of the day, isn't it? Shouldn't it be the race winner? It's not like they're in different cars. Everyone's in the same car. Everyone's in the same car.
But we know that we're going to have Coanda. We know we're going to have Team Redline at the front of the field almost.
Okay, so good point. So Jensen, yes, is up there. Jamie Fluke, can we
give him some love? Yes.
Give him some love. Anton Higlin, Baguette French world champion. Excellent job in 7th. Yeah. You know who it could have been instead of Marcus? Obviously, Marcus wins it for me, but it could have been Kevin Ellis Jr. if he didn't get that pit penalty.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like you go from hero to zero immediately in those sorts of stuff. And Kevin Ellis Jr. had a fantastic race. I mean, he came back with the field to come home in 9th, but he messed up one of the most important parts of a race like this there, Johnny.
Yeah, and look, we can say, oh, it's because he had the flu, but, he wouldn't have been in P4 or P5. Like, what was that? Like, was that the flu making him that fast? Like, it was just a pure mistake. So, it's unfortunate for him, but, hey, his career best result was P8. He could have even achieved a top 5 result here today. He's got the pace. When you come into round 1 with this much pace, we saw what happened with Joni Tormala 2 years ago. It's not a fluke. Yeah. This is a great foundation for Jensen and all these other guys like Ellis Jr. to build off of. Don't forget, Marcus Jensen was part of that Apex crew of himself, Fluke, Higlin, Ellis Jr., Dinkle as well. Don't forget, Dinkle hasn't had the best of rounds today, but he's there. Peter Berryman in 11th. He hasn't had the best of rounds. So great foundation, those guys.
Jake, come on, bring it in.
Driver of the day is Max Verstappen. No, wait. I think that we've seen some very, very astute and solid drives. You could put Fredrik Rasmussen up there, the way that he drove through the field, but of course he had that incident. Antoine Higeland deserves all the credit that he deserves, going from 22nd up to 7th position. And you know what? I'm going to go for a real sleeper agent of drivers who maybe had an underrated drive that impressed. Davide Korps went plus 13 positions in this event. Yes, it wasn't a drive that we saw anything of, but he was up there. He did very well. But my driver of the day would be Antoine Higeland.
Yeah, and we've got to give credit to Antoine. I say he had some fantastic drive here today. And one of the things about that as well is that both Ellis Jr., when he wasn't making mistakes on pit road, and Antoine Higeland and Jamie Fluke have all shown that maybe Apex Racing UK has kind of sorted out some of the kind of tyre life issues that they had in previous years. And as other teams are kind of like, and other teams and other drivers are kind of falling apart here, Jay, Apex have finally got it.
I think Apex are there. I think they've got some strength now, and the way that they need to push forward with the likes of Fluke, the likes of Higeland, the likes of Berryman, they now have to start going out there and being aggressive and starting to get these positions. Kevin Ellis Jr., for example, was up there fighting for that top 5, as we've talked about all throughout the proceedings that we've seen today. I think that what we're seeing from Apex is now where they should have been maybe 2 years ago. Now they've got to start looking, okay, can we consistently challenge now the Coanders and the Red Lines? Now can we start thinking about podiums? Yes. Now can we start thinking about victories? Not yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I want to bring actually Connery Maddock into this conversation as well, because he's been working furiously hard on social media all day long. I actually want to talk about one of the drivers who, you blew it, Connery, Marta Piatella. And I often use Marta Piatella as the kind of stick ranking in terms of, you know, understanding how well some of these teams have gone, because Piatella is one of those consistent top 10 drivers for Coanda Sim Sports. He came home P14 here today, and I think that's a very interesting measuring stick over the fact that a lot of drivers and a lot of teams here today have stepped it up for the first round of 2018 World Championship Grand Prix Series. And
yeah, exactly. And, you know, as you said, you use Marty Pitta as a measuring stick. But the thing is, he hasn't really had the greatest of races today. Even though he did manage to come home in a relatively decent position, it still just didn't really go all his way. You had that spin near the end of the race with Jamie Fluke as well, tagging him from behind in the Curva del Sol. So when all is said and done, Piatella has actually had a decent race today, considering.
yeah, he has. But there's one thing. There's the kind of quote-unquote elephant in the room that we've not talked about yet, Jake. FAG2 Racing. They're going to classify this as a bad day, quite simply.
They are, and I think Danny Engels will have to have a look at his two boys who have made their efforts. They've seen Sebastian Job. They've claimed technical issues, so give them benefit of the doubt with Sebastian Job. But ultimately, this is a team that had two contrasting qualifying performances and two contrasting race performances as well. They've got to work out now how they get both of those drivers to have the good parts of the event instead of the absolutely nightmarishly bad parts of the event that FA Racing G2 have had. It looks more of a Fernando Alonso of the last 3 years than it did maybe the Fernando Alonso of 2004, 2006.
Drink. And Johnny, one other team as well who had a really bad day. Radicals Online. They had most of their drivers out within the first lap of the motor race. And again, Radicals, let's be honest, they won two of the big World Tour events in 2018, Daytona and Sebring. However, the World Championship Grand Prix Series, luck wasn't on their side, but performance wasn't on their side either.
No, and I bumped into Rob Cuss, their team manager, before the race, and he's like, yeah, you know, I'll see how I feel after the race. I'll tell you what, do not speak to Rob Cuss after this race.
Yeah,
wasn't nothing went well for Radicals that time round. Good news is, on the bright side, they did manage to get Michael Partington. For those that don't know, with Bono Haas not racing this season, unfortunately, we just missed out on a top 5 driver. Michael Partington was able to get a license. He was ranked 11th in the Pro Series. Not only that, but he actually left ERT after he got the license and moved to Radicals Online. And so that's a new addition to that team, and just what they need, Will. You know, another driver out there, and he's not young, but he's got, you know, a lot of potential. He's smart. He's getting better every single day. So let's see where the sky's the limit for Michael Partington.
But Will, as much as it's don't talk to Rob Cuss, after that move, don't talk to Brenton O'Brien.
Yes,
Yeah.
I completely agree on that one as well. And I know Brenton's not a happy chappy right now. We never talk about the Orion Race Team, Jake, and the Orion Race Team had kind of like an Orion Race Team race, shall we say.
They did. They were very quiet, and I don't think that, aside from the opening stages, they really made quite an impression here today. Yalvaz should have been up there scrappy, and his race pace just dropped him back. Davide Corps had a very strong showing, getting up to 19th. But aside from that, Dion Verges didn't really offer much. And you look at Ilka Harpla out on the opening laps. I don't think this is a performance that Orion will be too happy with. This is not the performance that gets you recognised, I don't think, if you can't put a driver inside of the top 19 positions. So I think that Orion need to go back to the drawing board. They've got a lot of work to do. They've got a lot of positions that they need to gain. The qualifying effort was good. Don't get me wrong. I think that João Vaz did a fantastic job of things. But I think that their race pace seriously needs to have a second look at, and they have to start investing in their team, Will.
This is what you said on the podcasts. I agree. And it seems to be they are slipping backwards, and that's a worry for them. That's all we got time for, ladies and gentlemen. Round number 1 of the 2018 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series is in the books. Don't forget, you can catch all the highlights on YouTube, on Twitch TV, and on Facebook Live from the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Also, don't forget, Sim Racing Observer. Check out the recap of the race, and also in terms of who are going to get those illustrious Ferry points. You can also check out, of course, the Simon Racing Report, talking to the teams, the drivers from the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. In 2 weeks' time, we head ourselves over to Phillip Island. My God, it's a fast racetrack. It's one of my favourite racetracks to go to, and it's going to be very interesting because now we've got history on the line. We've got ourselves Hutu and Kroenke. They've both won 14 in a row previously. Kroenke now has a chance to make it 15 in a row. Shout out, it's about our trackcam22.com. Andreas Werner and One Design for overlay design, overlay animation. Simon Grossman, Aption.in. Nick Thiston, Racebot TV live timing. Johnny Simone, Jake Sperry, Connery Maddock on social media. I'm Will Vincent. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Phillip Island. Thank you so much for watching. History has been matched.